Chapter 481. Trouble is coming as a low-tier zombie. The zombie queen naturally knew what a master-level zombie represented. But why were there master-level zombies in this area? However, she suddenly remembered that Ada and Hong Yi were just low-tier zombies, so why had they become master-level zombies? The zombie queen couldn't believe it at all. But the fact was right before her eyes, and she had no choice but to believe it. She knew that all of this was because of the demon in front of her. Yili was also quite satisfied that his stagnant level had finally begun to change. He looked at the zombie queen who was still in shock, her face filled with horror. Let me introduce you, Ada, a master-level zombie titled Fist God. Hongye, a master-level zombie titled Frost. Baiwawa, a low-tier zombie titled Iron Feet. Yutong, a low-tier zombie titled Petrification. After Yili introduced them to the zombie queen was even more horrified. And you can call me Demon King Yili. Yili slowly said to the zombie queen. The zombie queen swallowed hard after hearing Yili's words. She looked at Yili's flawless face, and at this moment, there were no words to describe her shock. Demon King Yili. These 4 words caused endless shock in her heart. Yili paid no more attention to the zombie queen. Now only Ada and Hongye had become master-level zombies, which was still far from enough. He ordered the Apocalypse Legion to attract zombies, but this time the area was not only in Star City but also in the surrounding areas, and he told them to do it as long as possible. The zombie queen was still looking at Yili, making a decision in her heart. A few seconds later she finally said her decision. Okay. I'm willing to be your zombie. The zombie queen looked at Yili and said firmly. Yili was not surprised at all. He knew that the zombie queen would agree sooner or later. It was just a matter of time. Ding! Loyalty of the Lord-level zombie to the host has increased. Would you like to extract the Lord-level zombie into the zombie grid? Yes. Immediately the zombie queen's portrait appeared in the zombie grid. Above the synthesis grid there was the zombie grid. The portraits of each zombie in the Apocalypse Legion were in the zombie grid. Yili had no intention of buying a zombie loyalty pill for the zombie queen in the zombie store. He could buy one, but it wasn't necessary. Suddenly Yili heard some voices. Do you think the Demon King Yili is in Star City? We've searched so many places. I'm sure the Demon King Yili is in Star City. But there's a zombie queen in Star City. What if? Don't be afraid as long as we don't disturb the zombie queen. Yili smiled faintly. It seemed that someone was finally going to find him. Nowadays, all major forces were looking for Yili to get their hands on the dragon-slaying blade he possessed. The zombie queen had also heard it and looked at Yili. She called out to him, Master. Her meaning was clear. What are you going to do, Master? Hearing this word, Master, Yili still felt a bit awkward, but the voice of the zombie queen was quite pleasant. Yili smiled and said, Since someone is looking for trouble, let's go meet them. The zombie queen nodded, and together with Yili they headed to a certain location. Chapter 482. Everyone stay here today. At this moment, over a dozen 7th-tier evolved beings appeared on the streets of Star City, searching for the figure of the Demon King Yili. Where could this Demon King be hiding? Don't let me find him, otherwise I'll make sure he knows what I'm capable of. Exactly, this Demon King Yili claims to be neither human nor a member of the Dark Race. He even has a powerful Apocalypse Legion under his command. But one don't think he's anything special. These dozen or so people were all high-leveled evolved beings. They were extremely confident in their strength, not to mention that there were so many of them. Now that the dragon-slaying blade had reappeared, who didn't want to get it? Yili and the zombie queen were standing on the rooftop of a high-rise building, calmly observing the over a dozen high-tier evolved beings down on the street. Yili couldn't understand why these people were so reckless, showing such little regard for their lives. Wasn't life precious? It looks like we should split up and search. After all, we're all 7th-tier evolved beings. It should be easy to deal with the Demon King, one of them said. More than a dozen 7th-tier evolved beings nodded and were about to disperse to find Yili. At this moment they suddenly heard a cold voice. Everyone stay here today, Yili said calmly to the group of over a dozen 7th-tier evolved beings. The over a dozen 7th-tier evolved beings were taken aback. Leaving aside how this youth had appeared, his words were rather amusing. They were all 7th-tier evolved beings, yet a young man who looked to be in his early 20s wanted them to stay? Brat, do you know who you're talking to? How many guts do you have? One 7th-tier evolved being sneered, looking at Yili with disdain. The zombie queen was still on the balcony. She knew that in front of her master these people were like ants. She didn't need to do anything. Yili smiled indifferently. Do you believe that one can make you see your own corpses within 1 second? When this statement came out, the over a dozen 7th-tier evolved beings were first shocked, but then they burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. They dared to swear that they had never heard such a funny joke in their entire lives. It was simply too hilarious. What is this brat saying? That he can make us see our brains in 1 second? One can't take it anymore, my tears are about to burst. One 7th-tier evolved being said mockingly, Brat, do you know that we're all 7th-tier evolved beings? Of course I do, Yili nodded. Then why do you dare to say such things? Yili thought for a moment and looked at the 7th-tier evolved being who had spoken. Because I am the Demon King Yili. What? When the over dozen 7th-tier evolved beings heard this, their faces turned rigid, and they no longer laughed out loud. You're the Demon King Yili? One 7th-tier evolved being said in shock. Are you very surprised? Yili smiled calmly. But I have to tell you, this is the last time you're surprised. With those words, Yili retrieved the dragon-slaying blade from the system space. The over dozen 7th-tier evolved beings were shocked as they stared at the sword in Yili's hand. Of course they recognized it as the dragon-slaying blade. But before they could ask more questions, Yili suddenly swung his sword. Swish! A blade aura stretched out as if it had cleaved through space itself. Chapter 483. Leaving Star City, the faces of the dozen or so 7th-tier evolved beings were filled with horror because they had discovered that they couldn't withstand such an attack. They wanted to escape, they really did. But how could they escape with this kind of speed? The entire process was smooth, not even taking a full second. The lives of the dozen or so 7th-tier evolved beings had permanently disappeared from this world. Yili's face remained calm as he looked at the corpses of the dozen or so 7th-tier evolved beings. He calmly said, I told you that within 1 second, you'd be able to see your own corpses. Why didn't you believe me? With that, he stored the dragon-slaying blade in the system space. The zombie queen watched all this unfold on the balcony and felt that her previous actions were indeed ridiculous. She actually dared to fight her master. Not to mention these 7th-tier evolved beings, even she would have to use all her strength to withstand such a slash. Come down, Yili said as he looked towards the balcony where the zombie queen was. The zombie queen came to her senses and jumped down to join Yili. All right, let's go, Yili said calmly. Understood, master, the zombie queen nodded. Why did the zombie queen acknowledge Yili as her master? It was because after seeing Yili synthesizing zombies, she realized that if she didn't agree she might die. She never doubted Yili's ability to kill her. Yili and the zombie queen left Star City. Not long after they left Star City, Yili saw several helicopters in the sky. Yili smiled. It seemed that these helicopters were also looking for him. What he hadn't expected was that the helicopters flew so high that they seemed to have discovered him and the zombie queen. They were flying down towards them. Yili smiled calmly, thinking that a few more people were coming to meet their end. To make a name for himself, it seemed that everything he had done at Cloud Peak Academy had been the right move. Now who didn't know Yili? All major forces were looking for the Demon King Yili to get their hands on the dragon-slaying blade. Unfortunately, Yili would let them know what real strength was. Being respected was much better than being feared. Click, click, click. 5 helicopters landed on a large lawn, and a group of genetic warriors disembarked. Most of them were 6th-tier evolved beings, and the leader was a 7th-tier evolved being. They were even weaker than the previous group. The leader led the group of 6th-tier evolved beings to Yili, Zombie Queen. The 7th-tier evolved being was a little surprised. He really didn't understand why the Zombie Queen still dared to leave Star City. In the early years, the Warrior Alliance established a rule for the Zombie Queen that as long as the Zombie Queen left Star City, she would be eliminated. All these years, the Zombie Queen had never left Star City. Zombie Queen, we are from the Warrior Alliance, the 7th-tier evolved being said to the Zombie Queen. The Zombie Queen replied emotionlessly, that has nothing to do with me. This is my master. The message was clear. My master is here. Why are you ignoring my master? The 7th-tier evolved being was surprised and turned to look at Yili. This look left him somewhat dumbfounded. He just couldn't understand why a youth who looked to be around 20 would be with the Zombie Queen. Chapter 484. Suppressing with ease. Besides, the Zombie Queen actually called this human youth master? The group of 6th-tier evolved beings behind him were also stunned. In their opinion, such a thing would never happen. Who are you? Since Yili could make the Zombie Queen call him master, the 7th-tier evolved being knew that Yili was no ordinary person. Yili said slowly. Oh Yili, the seventh-tier evolved being suddenly seemed to realize something, and his pupils contracted rapidly. It was as if he had heard the most terrifying words in history. You are, Demon King Yili. As soon as he said this, the group of sixth-tier evolved beings behind the seventh-tier evolved being were all shocked. No matter what, they couldn't have imagined that the person before them would be Demon King Yili. The seventh-tier evolved being swallowed hard. He had thought that Demon King Yili was nothing special. Now he realized he was not only wrong but entirely mistaken. Not to mention Yi Li's true strength, just the fact that the zombie queen called him her master indicated that the situation was no longer easy to control. Zombie Queen, do you really have to help Demon King Yi Li? The seventh-tier evolved being stared at the zombie queen. Although the zombie queen was a lord-level zombie, the seventh-tier evolved being wasn't particularly afraid of her because they were genetic warriors of the Warrior Alliance. Ridiculous. You bunch of useless people dare to speak so arrogantly to me? The zombie queen disdainfully looked at the group of genetic warriors before her. The seventh-tier evolved being didn't bother to continue looking at the zombie queen. He fixed his gaze on Yi Li. Demon King Yi Li, hand over the dragon-slaying blade and I won't give you a hard time. You should know about the name of the Warrior Alliance, right? Yi Li smiled. He actually laughed. Why were there always so many stupid ants? If you want the dragon-slaying blade, come and get it, Yi Li said calmly. The seventh-tier evolved being was taken aback. He wasn't sure if the zombie queen would intervene, so he didn't dare to approach. If the zombie queen did intervene, they would be powerless to resist. Seeing the hesitating seventh-tier evolved being, Yi Li smiled again. Since you won't come over, it'll come to you. With that, he slowly walked toward the seventh-tier evolved being, and the zombie queen followed closely behind. The seventh-tier evolved being stared fixedly at the approaching Yi Li. Demon King Yi Li, don't think that I won't take action just because the zombie queen is here. Yi Li's face remained calm as he had no desire to converse with this group of ants. How can people like you ever change? Only death can make you change. As he spoke, dozens of golden spiritual lights flew out. As the sound of these dozens of attacks echoed, the seventh-tier evolved being and the group of sixth-tier evolved beings all died with terrifying blood holes on their foreheads. Ants like them were easily crushed with just a wave of a hand. Ding! The zombie queen's loyalty to the host has increased again. The system's voice sounded in Yi Li's mind. Yi Li thought that since he had nothing to do now, he might as well go to Yun City under Cloud Peak Mountain for a meal. Yi Li put the zombie queen into the system space and used swift steps to quickly reach Yun City. After finding a decent-looking restaurant, Yi Li ordered some dishes. Soon the dishes arrived and he began to eat and drink. Chapter 485. The shock of the masses. After the dishes were served, Yi Li started eating and drinking. Have you heard? Something big has happened recently. A middle-aged man, clearly drunk, said to the people around him. What big thing? A man asked hastily. Have you heard of Demon King Yi Li? Demon King Yi Li? Those who had heard of him were all astonished, while those who hadn't were left dumbfounded. Who is Demon King Yi Li? A commoner who hadn't heard of him asked, puzzled. You don't know Demon King Yi Li? He's done all these things. The drunken middle-aged man began to recount what he knew. What? In an instant, everyone present was left dumbfounded. Most of them had only heard of the name Demon King Yi Li and had no idea about all these things. I heard that Demon King Yi Li isn't human or a member of the dark race, but a demon. Demon? The crowd was stunned once again. Obviously they had never heard of the demon race. Recently there have been rumors that the demon race, even above the dark race, has only one demon in the entire continent, and that's Demon King Yi Li. The crowd couldn't help but gasp at the news. Only one demon in the entire continent, no wonder he's so formidable. By the way, both the Warrior Alliance and the Dark Race as well as other major powers, are all looking for Demon King Yi Li. Do you know why? Why? The crowd hurriedly asked. Clearly, Demon King Yi Li had deeply captivated their attention. The drunken middle-aged man took a big gulp of wine, wiped his mouth and then said, because Demon King Yi Li has one of the 10 great divine weapons, the dragon-slaying blade. What? The people were astonished. One of the 10 great divine weapons? Of course they had heard of the 10 great divine weapons, but it was so distant from their lives that they had long forgotten about them. But now that they heard it again and it was in the hands of the Demon King, Yi Li, how could they not be shocked? Yi Li shook his head. Information spread like wildfire, and he had never claimed that he was the only demon on the entire continent. But usually that was how rumors worked. Just then a young man walked in, followed by a very beautiful girl. The crowd looked at the young man and was instantly astonished. It's Wang Tian, the top talent of Cloud Peak Academy, someone whispered. Wang Tian often came to Yin City, and almost anyone who lived in Yin City knew him. Out of 100 people in Yin City, at least 90 knew King Tian. Young Master Tian, why are you eating in such a run-down restaurant? The girl behind Wang Tian pouted. Wang Tian smiled. Darling, don't judge a book by its cover. The food here is excellent. With that, Wang Tian looked around the restaurant, wanting to find a better spot to sit. But when he looked, Wang Tian was suddenly scared out of wits. What? Wang Tian felt like he was seeing things. He blinked his eyes repeatedly, but unfortunately he wasn't mistaken. Yili? Currently, all the major powers were looking for him, and Wang Tian couldn't believe that Yili was sitting here so calmly, having a meal. The people in the restaurant saw Wang Tian's shocked expression and were all puzzled. They knew that Wang Tian was the top talent of Cloud Peak Academy, so how could he suddenly look so frightened? Following Wang Tian's gaze, they discovered a young man in his 20s sitting in the corner. By the way, just now Wang Tian seemed to be talking about someone called Yili, a man whispered. Chapter 486. How many eyes does the horse god have? The crowd pondered the name Wang Tian just mentioned. Yili? Suddenly, everyone in the restaurant couldn't help but shudder, staring in horror at the youth in the corner. Could it be? Is the youth in the corner the demon king Yili? Yili sat in the corner, casually picked up a teacup, took a sip as if completely oblivious to the shock of everyone. Yili, now all major forces are looking for you. Why do you dare to show up in Yin City? Wang Tian regained his composure, staring at Yili and said coldly. Yili smiled faintly at his words. Major forces? Yili turned around, looking at Wang Tian indifferently. Where are these so-called major forces? Let them come out and let me see. Arrogant, absolutely arrogant. The people in the restaurant were all shocked. They never expected Yili to speak so arrogantly. Wang Tian secretly clenched his fists. As the grandson of the Grand Elder of the Warrior Alliance, he had been admired by countless people since childhood. However, at the Cloud Summit Academy, he was beaten by Yili. Suddenly, Wang Tian whispered something in the ear of the beautiful woman beside him. The beautiful woman nodded in shock and quickly ran out. Wang Tian's handsome face revealed a cold smile. He imagined that it wouldn't be long before Yili faced a tragic end. In his imagination, Yili's fate was truly miserable. Yili, to be honest, one really admire you, Wang Tian said triumphantly. Your strength is indeed strong, but you are too arrogant. In this world, arrogant people often have a bad ending, Wang Tian continued. Yili smiled faintly. Unfortunately, 1 a.m. an exception. At these words, Wang Tian's pupils contracted rapidly, staring at Yili. Yili, the people from the Warrior Alliance are about to arrive. Today, let's see how you escape. Wang Tian roared at Yili. Yili, as if he hadn't heard anything, continued to sip his tea slowly. Hey, how many eyes does the horse god have? What? The people in the restaurant were shocked. They felt that Yili was too domineering and even a bit unreasonable. Wang Tian clenched his teeth. He couldn't understand why Yili wasn't afraid at this point. Are you deaf? Can't you hear me asking you a question? Yili playfully looked at Wang Tian. Wang Tian widened his eyes. It was only now that he realized he had been too impulsive. He had no reinforcements by his side, and he was far from being Yili's opponent. For a moment, Wang Tian was at a loss. Not answering? Yili smiled, and then a golden spiritual light attacked Wang Tian. How could Wang Tian withstand such an attack? Ali! With a pig-like scream, a horrifying blood hole appeared on Wang Tian's right arm. Wang Tian was in extreme pain. It was a piercing and unbearable pain. How many eyes does the horse god have? Answer me, Yili spoke slowly. Everyone in the restaurant was terrified. They didn't even see clearly how Yili attacked, and a bloody hole had appeared on Wang Tian's arm. It's worth noting that Wang Tian's background was. At this moment, where could Wang Tian still answer Yili's question? He continued to emit heart-wrenching screams. Swish! Another golden spiritual light attacked. Ah! Wang Tian rolled on the ground in pain. On his other arm there was also a horrifying blood hole. Chapter 487. I injured you, but you have to accept it. How many eyes does the horse god have? Yili asked the same question again. Upon hearing these words from Yili, Wang Tian felt a chill run from his tailbone to the top of his head. He felt as though he had fallen into an ice cave and had even forgotten about the pain. Wang Tian regretted it deeply. He cursed himself for provoking a devil like Yili. But he knew he had to answer. The consequences would be unimaginable if he didn't. 3. Wang Tian gritted his teeth, enduring the pain as he answered Yi Li's question. However, Wang Tian couldn't have anticipated that another golden spiritual light attack would follow. Swish! With the sound of breaking wind, a blood hole appeared on Wang Tian's right leg. Ollie. As the saying went, men didn't cry easily, only because he had yet to reach the depth of his sorrow. In agony, Wang Tian just couldn't hold back his tears. Wang Tian was crying now because the pain had reached a level he had never experienced before. I've injured you 3 times. Do you accept it? Yi Li casually spoke, his face as calm as water, as if he were doing something inconsequential. Silence, a deadly silence. The people in the restaurant were stunned to the point of speechlessness. If Wang Tian had already regretted his actions just now he regretted them 100-fold. Yi Li, seeing that Wang Tian hadn't responded, shook his head. He slowly raised a finger, and a golden spiritual light attack burst from his fingertip. Ali! Another scream, reminiscent of a pig being slaughtered, rang out. The intensity of the screams was chilling and hair-raising. Answer me, I've injured you 3 times. No, I've injured you 4 times. Do you accept it? Yi Li's face remained as calm as ever, as if he were discussing something trivial. At this moment, even Wang Tian's soul trembled. A warm stream of urine escaped from him. Oh, I accept it. I accept it. Wang Tian had no choice but to acknowledge defeat. He didn't dare not to. At that moment, the people in the restaurant finally realized the terror of Demon King Yi Li. Just then, a group of genetic warriors dressed in white burst into the restaurant with 2 words on their backs. Warrior Alliance. Young Master Tian, what happened to you? An 8th-tier evolved being looked at Wang Tian in shock. They were genetic warriors stationed in Yun City, and if the Grand Elder blamed them for the serious injury Wang Tian had suffered, they wouldn't be able to bear it. It's Yi Li, it must be Demon King Yi Li, the beautiful girl who had run out of the inn exclaimed. The 8th-tier evolved being and a group of 7th-tier evolved beings quickly scanned the restaurant. The beautiful girl pointed at the young man in the corner with her finger. It's him, he's Demon King Yi Li. The genetic warriors from the Warrior Alliance followed the direction of the girl's finger. Suddenly, another golden spiritual light attack struck. The girl's finger was broken. Ali! The girl screamed instantly. The genetic warriors from the Warrior Alliance were horrified by this scene. Never point at my head with your finger. Don't try my patience. Yi Li spoke slowly. The people in the restaurant swallowed hard. This was Demon King Yi Li. Could there really be such a terrifying human in the world? But Demon King Yi Li was right in front of them. How could they not believe it? Are you Demon King Yi Li? The leader stared at Yi Li coldly. At this point, Wang Tian had already been carried out for treatment. Yi Li nodded. Yes, I am Demon King Yi Li. Chapter 488. How about I send you to hell with the dragon-slaying blade? The level 8 evolved being stared at Yi Li. If you are the Demon King Yi Li, hand over the dragon-slaying blade and I will let you die a good death. Hee hee. Yi Li shook his head. He had heard such words countless times. Unfortunately, everyone who spoke to him like this had ended up dead. Do you really want the dragon-slaying blade? Yi Li calmly spoke. With those words, Yi Li retrieved the dragon-slaying blade from the system space. A 5-clawed blood dragon instantly coiled in the restaurant, and waves of blade radiance dazzled everyone, making it impossible for them to open their eyes. This is the dragon-slaying blade. The eyes of the 8th-tier evolved being were burning with excitement. Do you like it? Yi Li playfully looked at the 8th-tier evolved being. One like it, of course. The 8th-tier evolved being quickly responded. Yi Li fell silent for a few seconds and then said, Since you like the dragon-slaying blade, how about one use it to send you to hell? What do you think? As soon as these words were spoken, the people in the restaurant were shocked beyond measure. All the genetic warriors of the Warrior Alliance froze like clay sculptures. They never expected Yi Li to say such a thing. Everyone get out. Yi Li was never a good person, but he was not a bad person either. Upon hearing these words, the people in the restaurant dared not stay any longer. They hurriedly rushed out at the fastest speed ever recorded. Demon King Yi Li, 1 AM, an 8th-tier evolved being. Do you really think you can do anything to me with the dragon-slaying blade? Weapons are just tools. The most important thing is one's own strength. The 8th-tier evolved being coldly spoke to Yi Li. In the eyes of the 8th-tier evolved being, Yi Li was too young, and at this age, what high level could he possibly be? Unfortunately, you overlooked something that is enough to make you all lose your lives. What is it? I, Yi Li, am not a human but a demon. The pupils of the 8th tier evolved being rapidly contracted upon hearing this. He already had an idea of what Yili meant, but when he reacted it was already too late. Demonic Devil Blade Cross Slash. The dragon-slaying blade fell, and a crimson cross slash descended upon the genetic warriors. Upon impact, countless demonic figures accompanied the attack, appearing extremely powerful. Boom! The restaurant collapsed, and the genetic warriors of the Warrior Alliance all lay lifeless on the ground. On the streets of Yun City, countless people looked at the young man before them. Just a glance at him with his big blade made them feel a shiver down their spines. Is this Demon King Yili? A man who had just come out of the restaurant looked at Yili in horror. Who is the boss? Yili spoke slowly. The restaurant's boss dared not hide. Trembling, he walked out from the crowd. Why, Your Excellency, I am the boss. Yili exchanged a lot of post-apocalyptic coins in the Point Mall and threw them to the boss. This is the compensation for you, Yili said to the boss. The boss was startled. He opened the bag and took a look. Then he was shocked. So much money? This amount of money was enough for him to live without worries for a lifetime. Looking at Yili again, the boss had originally thought that Demon King Yili was a completely bad person, but now it seemed that he was not only wrong but also thoroughly wrong. Yili was mentally connected to the Apocalypse Legion, and he noticed that the Apocalypse Legion was bringing a large number of zombies towards Yun City. Chapter 489. Large numbers of zombies appear outside Yun City Cloud Peak Academy, the president's office. President Gu Feng, Vice President Xiao He, and a group of 9th-level instructors were discussing something. Suddenly, a panicked 8th-tier evolved being rushed in. President, something big has happened. President Gu Feng, Vice President Xiao He, and the instructors were all startled at the same time. What happened? President Gu Feng asked hastily. Outside Yun City, there are large numbers of zombies led by the Apocalypse Legion. The 8th-tier evolved being exclaimed in fear. What? Everyone in the president's office was stunned. They had encountered the Apocalypse Legion in Cloud Peak Academy that day. Now, the Apocalypse Legion was appearing outside Yun City with a large horde of zombies. What did that mean? And the Apocalypse Legion was under the command of Demon King Yili. Yun City Warrior Alliance Branch. A terrified 9th-tier evolved being listened to some news. You're saying Demon King Yili appeared in Yun City, injured young Master Tian, and killed an 8th-tier evolved being from our Warrior Alliance and a group of 7th-tier evolved beings with a single slash of the dragon-slaying blade? Yes, my lord, a 7th-tier evolved being replied. Oh no, my lord, oh no, my lord. At this moment, another 7th-tier evolved being ran in. What's the panic about? The 9th-tier evolved being shouted. The 7th-tier evolved being swallowed hard, wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. My lord, tens of thousands of zombies have appeared in Yun City, including 2 master-level zombies, 5 10th-tier lord-level zombies, and 18 9th-tier zombies. How was this possible? This 9th-tier evolved being was shocked to the extreme, even thinking he must have misheard. Quick! Report to headquarters. The 9th-tier evolved being roared. All the genetic warriors of Cloud Peak Academy and the Warrior Alliance branch in Yun City gathered on the outer walls of Yun City. They looked at the number of zombies before them and couldn't help but swallow their saliva. It had been many years since they had seen such a scene. And there were even master-level and lord-level zombies. If the elite of the Warrior Alliance didn't arrive, Yun City would undoubtedly be conquered. At this moment, 2 figures appeared on the outer wall of Yun City. The genetic warriors of Cloud Peak Academy and the Warrior Alliance branch in Yun City looked at the 2 figures before them. No. More accurately, it should be a demon and a zombie. This demon was undoubtedly Yili. And this zombie was the Zombie Queen. They looked at the sudden appearance of Yili and the Zombie Queen, and everyone was so frightened that their souls seemed to leave their bodies. Demon King Yili. Zombie Queen. The president of Cloud Peak Academy, Gu Feng, shouted loudly. Yili ignored the terrified crowd. He shouted to the Apocalypse Legion, "Take action!" Immediately the Apocalypse Legion began to act. He leaped into the air, opened the synthesis grid in his mind, and started synthesizing zombies. Bai Wawa upgraded to the master level. Yutong upgraded to the master level. All Chi upgraded to the master level. Ding. The loyalty of the Zombie Queen to the host has reached IOO%. At this moment, the Zombie Queen's eyes, when looking at Yili, became extremely loyal. Ding. Detecting that the host's strength is too powerful, the host will break through soon. Instantly, Yili felt as if he were in magma, and at the same time as if he were in the South Polar ice. He had never felt so uncomfortable before. Now he was a 10th tier evolved being. With just one more step he could become a transcender. Chapter 490. Becoming a transcender. The eyes of the genetic warriors of Cloud Peak Academy and the Warrior Alliance branch were widened even more than a cow's eyes, and their mouths could fit an extra-large bowl. Is this the power of a demon? Vice President Xiao He of Cloud Peak Academy swallowed hard. He felt as if all the strength in his body had been drained, and he secretly regretted that he had actually provoked such a demon when he was at Cloud Peak Academy. Suddenly Yi Li's entire body was enveloped in water and fire. President Gu Feng of Cloud Peak Academy widened his eyes. He's about to break through to a transcender. What? The genetic warriors on the outer walls retreated 3 steps upon hearing this. A transcender? Besides those in the headquarters of the Warrior Alliance, was someone actually going to become a transcender? After a moment, thunder came from the sky. Boom. Immediately, a violent explosion occurred in the area where Yi Li was. Failed? President Gu Feng widened his eyes. Generally, when an evolved being attempts to break through to a transcender, such a situation indicates a breakthrough failure. However, what the genetic warriors couldn't even think of was that when the water and fire aura disappeared, Yi Li stood in the sky like an ancient demon. At this moment, his hair stood upright, his eyes were like lightning and his face appeared golden. His upper garment had disappeared, revealing muscles resembling a coiling dragon, giving the greatest visual impact ever. How was that possible? Gu Feng was dumbfounded. He would rather believe that the sky was about to collapse than believe that Yi Li had actually succeeded in breaking through. Now, Demon King Yi Li not only had master-level zombies, but his own strength had also reached the level of a transcender. Is this the power of a transcender? Yi Li looked at his hands, feeling at least hundreds of times more powerful than before. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a super treasure chest. Would you like to open it? Open it, Yi Li said without hesitation. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the synthesis technique, batch synthesis. Yi Li was surprised. Batch synthesis? He quickly looked at the introduction of batch synthesis. Batch synthesis, a magical zombie synthesizing technique, minimum quantity unlimited, maximum 10,000 zombies. Seeing this, Yi Li's handsome face lit up. Synthesized 10,000 zombies at once? This was indeed a golden finger. Ding. Since the host has become a transcender, congratulations on obtaining a chance to draw the lottery. Yi Li used this prize. The virtual pointer started spinning in the roulette, and after a few seconds the virtual pointer stopped spinning. Congratulations to the host for drawing the attack skill, Demon God Domineering Fist. Demon God Domineering Fist. Sky level skill, 1 punch, stars extinguished, 2 punches, the sky shattered. A sky level skill? Yi Li checked the skill introduction. It was only then that he realized that above SSS level skills, there were Earth level skills, and above Earth level skills were sky level ones. Would the host like to cultivate the Demon God Domineering Fist now? Yes. Demon God Domineering Fist cultivation begins. 10%, 30%, 60%, 100%. Demon God Domineering Fist cultivation completed. Yi Li was in midair. He looked at the genetic warriors on the outer walls and slowly said, "Who else wants the dragon-slaying blade? Just speak up." But now who dared to speak? "I want it." An abrupt voice entered everyone's ears. The genetic warriors were shocked. How could someone still dare to speak at this time? Was he seeking death? Chapter 491. 5th War General, Lei Gang. Suddenly, in mid-air, a second-tier master-level Dark Race member appeared. Dark Temple. Gu Feng widened his eyes, exclaiming in fear. The Dark Temple was the most powerful force among the Dark Race members in this region. Only the Dark Temple had master-level Dark Race members. Demon King Yi Li, we've been observing you for a long time. We've known about you since you were in Anan Bay City. We haven't taken action against you because we find your abilities terrifying. Join our Dark Temple. Ha ha ha. At this moment, a hearty laughter echoed in the air. In Yun City, when did the Dark Race have a say? As the voice fell, a middle-aged man, towering like an iron tower, appeared in everyone's field of vision. It's the 5th War General of the Warrior Alliance. A genetic warrior on the outer wall exclaimed. This middle-aged man was named Lei Gang, a second-tier transcender. Lei Gang, Demon King Yi Li is the one chosen by our Dark Temple. If your Warrior Alliance interferes, you should be aware of the strength of the Black Thunder Temple. Lei Gang smiled. Dark Temple? Unfortunately, the main temple of the Dark Temple is not in this area, and we, the Warrior Alliance, are not afraid of you. Yi Li listened to the conversation between the two. He didn't expect that he had been observed by the Dark Temple since he was in Anan Bay City. It seems, Yi Li thought that the world was indeed vast. Demon King Yi Li, hand over the dragon-slaying blade and come with me to the Warrior Alliance. Lei Gang stared at Yi Li and shouted. A second-tier master-level Dark Race member, a second-tier transcender. Yi Li was only a first-tier transcender now. Unfortunately, he already possessed the sky-level skill, Demon God Domineering Fist. Did they really think Yi Li sneered? Did they really think him a lamb waiting to be slaughtered? What if I don't agree? Yi Li looked at Lei Gang indifferently. Lei Gang was taken aback and then coldly said to Yi Li, Demon King Yi Li, I just witnessed your breakthrough to a transcender. You're only a first-tier transcender. Do you think you're invincible? Yi Li smiled, feel free to try. The second-tier master-level Dark Race member suddenly disappeared in mid-air. Demon King Yi Li, do you want to fight against the 5th War General? It's ridiculous. That's the 5th War General of the Warrior Alliance. Lei Gang coldly smiled, Demon King Yi Li, since you're unwilling, then I have to take action. The 5th War General Lei Gang, a body refiner, had a weapon-like body. Suddenly, Lei Gang disappeared in place. His speed was astonishing as he threw a fierce punch at Yi Li. This punch was the most terrifying one Yi Li had ever seen since he crossed into this parallel world. Unfortunately, how could he be afraid? Yi Li also threw a punch. Demon King Yi Li, is he crazy? He's actually going head-to-head with the 5th War General? Lei Gang's fist and Yi Li's fist collided heavily. Boom. How could this scene be described in words? Lei Gang was somewhat surprised. He could never have imagined that Yi Li could actually take his punch head-on. Demon King Yi Li, you're truly extraordinary. Lei Gang stared at Yi Li and said firmly. But you still won't be able to defeat me. I will now use my strongest move. Lei Gang continued. As the sound fell, Lei Gang shouted loudly, Overlord Thunder Fist. Suddenly, countless fist shadows mixed with thunderbolts rushed fiercely towards Yi Li. Chapter 492. Met Lu Qingxue again. Yi Li smiled faintly, thinking, just because you have martial arts does it mean I don't? But only saw Yi Li raise his fist and fiercely strike towards Lei Gang. Demon God Domineering Fist. With this punch, numerous demon shadows accompanied it. Boom. An earth-shattering sound came and everyone felt as if the sky was collapsing. The fear on their faces reached its peak. Splurt. Suddenly, a figure flew backwards towards the outer city wall. When everyone clearly saw the figure flying over, their eyes widened more than ever before. Because the one flying over was none other than the 5th War General, Lei Gang. Shock. Absolute shock. The mighty 5th War General of the Warrior Alliance was actually defeated? And it seemed he was seriously injured. Meanwhile, Yi Li, with his serene face, showed no sign of emotion, as if nothing had happened. His Demon God Domineering Fist was a celestial tier skill, while Lei Gang's Overlord Thunder Fist was at most an SSS level skill. If Lei Gang were not a body cultivator, his injuries would probably be even more severe. Yi Li activated the swift steps and disappeared with the Apocalypse Legion in the sky. Ding. Congratulations to the host for upgrading the Ancient Devil Tome to the 6th level. The system voice once again echoed in Yi Li's mind. The 6th level of the Ancient Devil Tome? That meant he would not fear even a 3rd-tier transcender now. You go gather zombies everywhere. Yi Li wanted to turn all the zombies in the Apocalypse Legion into master-level zombies first. Immediately, all the zombies of the Apocalypse Legion began to move in all directions. At this moment, Yi Li was on a small mountain. It seemed Yi Li squinted his eyes. There seemed to be someone here? He activated the Ancient Devil Tome to take a look but found someone he was familiar with. Lu Qingxue. On that day in Huangjiang Bay City, Lu Qingxue was preparing to leave with the people from Cloud Peak Academy. He saved Lu Qingxue and let her follow Chen Ruxue back to the Warrior Alliance. At that time, he had no idea that the Warrior Alliance was so close to Cloud Peak Academy. At this moment, Lu Qingxue was sitting on the ground eating compressed biscuits with several other girls taking a break. Roar. Suddenly, a roar of a fierce beast sounded. It was a 7th-tier savage beast. This savage beast was a tiger-tailed giant snake, about a dozen meters long. Quick retreat. Lu Qingxue shouted, and then several girls all retreated several meters. They were all only 5th-tier evolved beings. Faced with a 7th-tier savage beast, they were no match. Why panic? A calm and indifferent voice entered Lu Qingxue's ears. Lu Qingxue was startled because she felt that this voice was very familiar. Following the sound, she discovered it was Yi Li. Senior? Lu Qingxue couldn't believe her eyes. She rubbed her eyes, but she wasn't mistaken. It's just a little snake. Why are you so scared? Yili said with a faint smile. Several girls were a little stunned. The young man in front of them, who looked a few years older, why did he speak so arrogantly? The seventh-tier tiger-tailed giant snake stared at Yili. It could understand Yili's words. How could it endure it? Suddenly, the seventh-tier tiger-tailed giant snake pounced towards Yili. Yili's eyes shot out a golden spiritual light, and in an instant, the seventh-tier tiger-tailed giant snake died instantly. A seventh-tier tiger-tailed giant snake was killed so easily? Chapter 493, Heavenly Star Academy. Several girls were dumbfounded. They originally thought Yili was very arrogant, but now they didn't think so at all. Is he really that powerful? Qingxue, is he your brother? A girl asked while looking at Lu Qingxue. Lu Qingxue seemed not to hear, her eyes fixedly on Yili as if she were in a trance. What, are you excited to see me? Yili looked at Lu Qingxue faintly. When Lu Qingxue heard this, she came back to her senses, but she didn't know how to answer. Of course she was excited to see Yili. Senior, how did you come here? Lu Qingxue asked with some doubt on her fair face. I've been here for a long time and gained some fame. Yili spoke slowly. Lu Qingxue was somewhat shocked and she seemed to think of something. Senior, are you the Demon King? One should have thought of it earlier. Several girls looked at Lu Qingxue and then at Yili. They originally thought Yili was Lu Qingxue's brother, but now it seemed not. By the way, where are you now? Yili suddenly asked. I'm at Heavenly Star Academy. Lu Qingxue continued. Heavenly Star Academy, like Cloud Peak Academy, is a school founded by the Warrior Alliance. After Sister Chen brought me back, she asked me to go to Heavenly Star Academy. Heavenly Star Academy? It was the first time Yili had heard this name. Then take me there. Anyway, with nothing to do, Yili thought it would be fine to take a look. But, Senior, you are not a student of Heavenly Star Academy. Lu Qingxue said hesitantly. It's okay, just take me there. Yili said slowly. Lu Qingxue had to take Yili to Heavenly Star Academy, and the few girls were her close friends. At the gate of Heavenly Star Academy, Lu Qingxue and the few girls stopped. Senior, only students of Heavenly Star Academy can enter. You need this. After speaking, Lu Qingxue took out something similar to a student ID card. It's okay. You go in first. Yili's face remained calm. Lu Qingxue and the few girls entered Heavenly Star Academy, and Yili activated the swift steps, disappearing on the spot. After entering Heavenly Star Academy, Yili found that Heavenly Star Academy was not much different from Cloud Peak Academy. It also had a tower that seemed pretentious. On the tower were 3 big characters. Heavenly Star Tower. Under the tower was a square and many students were practicing. Lu Qingxue and the few girls also arrived under the Heavenly Star Tower. Why aren't you wearing the school uniform of Heavenly Star Academy? A student looked at Yili in amazement. As soon as this remark came out, the students who were originally practicing with their eyes closed opened their eyes one after another. All the students of Heavenly Star Academy were wearing school uniforms, and Yili appeared particularly conspicuous. Lu Qingxue and the few girls were shocked. Is he senior? Lu Qingxue was very surprised and she didn't understand how Yili got in. Do I need to explain whether one wear the school uniform or not? Yili looked at the third-tier evolved being in front of him indifferently. The third-tier evolved being was stunned. This person wasn't wearing the school uniform, but why did he sound so justified? Who is this person? So arrogant. Yeah, could he be a super genius? Impossible, there are only a few super geniuses in Heavenly Star Academy. The students were discussing animatedly. Excuse me, can you explain why you are not wearing the school uniform? Another young man appeared in Yili's eyes. This young man looked good and he seemed to have high talent. He was a 6th-tier evolved being, 1 realm higher than Lu Qingxue. Chapter 494. Go and call for reinforcement. It's Yang Feng. Yang Feng is one of the geniuses of our Heavenly Star Academy. This is going to be interesting. Everyone in Heavenly Star Academy knew Yang Feng. There was no change in the calm face of Yili, and he did not respond to Yang Feng's words. In his eyes, a 6th-tier evolved being was nothing more than an ant. This classmate, please answer my question. Yang Feng frowned. The trees wish to be still, but the wind continues to blow. Why are there always so many ants causing trouble for him? Get lost. Yili said indifferently. What? The students widened their eyes. They couldn't believe that Yili dared to say such words. In the end, senior is senior, and he is so domineering wherever he goes. Lu Qingxue muttered to herself. What did you say? Yang Feng gritted his teeth. As soon as Yang Feng finished speaking, he let out a miserable scream. Ali! Yang Feng flew backward. The students opened their eyes wide, unable to see Yili making a move at all. Just a sixth-tier evolved being, really not worth mentioning. Yili shook his head and smiled. At this moment, an eighth-tier instructor witnessed the scene. The instructor walked to Yili's side and looked at him coldly, saying, Don't you know that students of Heavenly Star Academy must wear school uniforms and are prohibited from fighting in the arena? I don't know, Yili shook his head. You. The eighth-tier instructor widened his eyes. This is something that every student of Heavenly Star Academy knows. Why don't you know? Yili smiled. I'm not a student of Heavenly Star Academy. As soon as these words were heard, the students couldn't help but gasp. Not a student of Heavenly Star Academy? Lu Qingxue couldn't help but sweat for Yili. This was an eighth-tier instructor, but thinking of Yili's title, the Demon King, she wasn't so worried. You are not a student of Heavenly Star Academy? The eighth-tier instructor stared blankly at Yili. Yang Feng had just climbed up from the ground at this time, looking at Yili with hatred. You are not a student of Heavenly Star Academy and you even hit me. How should we settle this account? Yili smiled. How? Ali. Yang Feng screamed again, then flew out again. Just settle it like this. The eighth-tier instructor was also a bit dumbfounded. He was an eighth-tier evolved being, but he couldn't see how Yili made his move. You're asking for death. The eighth-tier instructor snapped back to his senses and raised his big hand to slap Yili. Yili didn't move, letting the palm of the eighth-tier evolved being strike him. The students widened their eyes. If Yili didn't dodge, he would have no chance of survival. Lu Qingxue bit her teeth. She knew she had to trust Senior. Without any doubt, the palm of the eighth-tier evolved being hit Yili. But what happened next left everyone dumbfounded. Yili not only didn't fly backward, he didn't even take half a step back. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. The eighth-tier instructor shouted. In his eyes, this was impossible. Go and call for reinforcements. With your eighth-tier strength, you're not enough to deal with me. Yili spoke slowly. With that, the eighth-tier evolved being flew backward hundreds of meters away. The students were all stunned. Even the eighth-tier instructor was defeated so easily? They couldn't believe it. They really couldn't believe it. Chapter 495. Fourth General Yang Feng swallowed. He felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave, wondering what monster he had provoked. Yili's face was as calm as water. He glanced at the students casually. Are you afraid? Yili continued, Never be afraid because everything I do will make you afraid for 3 days and 3 nights. All the students were shocked again. They felt that Yili's words were too domineering. Suddenly, the president of the Heavenly Star Academy and a group of high-leveled evolved beings all appeared in front of Yili. The president of the Heavenly Star Academy was called Tian Biyuan. He stared at Yili coldly. Who are you? How dare you mess around in our Heavenly Star Academy? Yili smiled. It's just a small Heavenly Star Academy. I can come and go as one please. Tian Biyuan was shocked. He didn't expect Yili to dare to say such a thing. Brat. Before Tian Biyuan finished speaking, he couldn't say anything else, because a big knife was already at his throat. Of course, this knife was the dragon-slaying blade. Everyone present gasped. They really couldn't believe that all of this was real. And the knife in Yili's hand horrified them. Just looking at this knife made one's heart skip a beat. What? Do you think one Demon King Yili am arrogant? Yili slowly said. Demon King Yili. Hearing this, everyone in the Heavenly Star Academy was horrified. Even if they died, they would never have thought that the young man in front of them was the Demon King Yili. Are you the Demon King Yili? Tian Biyuan's eyes widened. A wicked smile appeared on Yili's handsome face. What do you think? I'm sorry. One didn't know that you were the Demon King, Lord Yili. If I had known that you were the Demon King, I wouldn't have dared to do this even if I had 10 guts. Tian Biyuan knew that if the Demon King Yili wanted to kill him, it would be in the blink of an eye. Demon King Yili, the Alliance leader, invites you to see him. At this moment, a beautiful woman suddenly appeared in midair. The woman stepped on an immortal sword, looking extremely beautiful. It's the fourth general. An instructor of the Heavenly Star Academy said in horror. The fourth general of the Warrior Alliance's headquarters was called Li Yinlu, a Tier 3 transcender, and her weapon was a peerless sword. Yili was a little puzzled. The Dark Temple could control his whereabouts, so could the Warrior Alliance. How did they do it? Go tell your alliance leader that one Yili am not going. Yili thought that if I go just because you ask me to, wouldn't it be embarrassing? Li Yanlu frowned. Before she finished speaking, Yili interrupted her. Many people's hearts will ache when a beautiful person like you frowns, right? Unfortunately, I, Yili, am not afraid of the dark or your frown. Yili said frankly. Li Yanlu looked at Yili coldly. Yili, are you going or not? Alas. Yili sighed. It turns out that not only do you like to frown but you are also deaf. Aren't you afraid that you won't be able to get married? Yili said faintly. You're asking for death. Li Yanlu was furious. As the fourth general of the Warrior Alliance's headquarters, when had she ever been humiliated like this? Swish. A terrifying sword light rushed towards Yili. Li Yanlu was a Tier 3 transcender, and Yili was now a Tier 1 transcender. The gap in strength was originally very large, but unfortunately his ancient devil tome had already reached the 6th level. Chapter 496. Call me little brother. He activated the 6th level of the ancient devil tome, and all his attributes soared. The dragon-slaying blade in his hand was whistling in the wind. Swish. Yili also slashed out. In an instant, the knife light and the sword light collided. In the end, the two cancelled each other out. Li Yanlu was a little stunned. She was a Tier 3 transcender. Yili was only a Tier 1 transcender. Why? Just as she was stunned, Yili had already arrived in midair and was looking at her playfully. I can go to the Warrior Alliance, but you'll have to. Yili didn't finish his sentence. He wanted to see what Li Yanlu would say first. Have to do what? Li Yanlu stared at Yili. You'll have to call me little brother. Yili said slowly. Silence, a deathly silence. Everyone in the Heavenly Star Academy was stunned. They had naturally seen arrogant people, but they had never seen such an arrogant person in their lives. He actually asked the fourth general to call him little brother? Li Yanlu's cold face began to turn icy. Demon King Yili, are you really not afraid of death? Die. Who isn't afraid of death? However, can you kill the Demon King Yili? Li Yanlu stared at Yili. She wished Yili could die immediately, but she couldn't disobey the Alliance leader's order. Little brother? Li Yanlu gritted her teeth. She could only compromise. Not bad. Your voice is quite nice. Call me again. Yili slowly said. You. Li Yanlu seemed to be gnashing her teeth. She was extremely angry. The people from the Heavenly Star Academy looked at each other in shock. In their opinion, Demon King Yili was simply shocking. However, was it really appropriate to offend Li Yanlu like this? Don't ever refuse me, the Demon King Yili. Yili looked at Li Yanlu indifferently. Little brother. Li Yanlu called out again. Let's go. Yili said slowly. Li Yanlu glared at Yili as if saying, let's see how I'll deal with you when we reach the Warrior Alliance. Then Yili and Li Yanlu headed for the Warrior Alliance. Outside the headquarters of the Warrior Alliance, Yili looked at the super magnificent building in front of him and thought to himself, this is the headquarters of the Warrior Alliance after all. It's indeed powerful. Then Yili and Li Yanlu arrived at the hall. The strongest people in the Warrior Alliance were sitting in the hall, not including the 5th War General, Lei Gang, who was probably still in sickbed. Alliance leader, Demon King Yili, has arrived. Sitting above the hall was a middle-aged man who looked extremely dignified. Demon King Yili, you're finally here. The one who spoke was naturally the Alliance leader of the Martial Arts Union, Xiahou Jie, a Tier 10 transcender. Yili knew that there was still a huge gap between him and the person in front of him. He had never underestimated the heroes of the world and had long known that there were super strong masters. Tell me what's the matter? Yili slowly said. Although he couldn't beat Xiahou Jie if he admitted defeat like this, would he still be the Demon King Yili? Demon King Yili, our Warrior Alliance wants to cooperate with you. Xiahou Jie looked at Yili and said, cooperate. Yili didn't quite understand what Xiahou Jie meant. The Dark Temple in the north is the highest power of the Dark race. We can't destroy the Dark Temple in the north alone. As soon as he said this, Yili understood. I'm only a Tier 1 transcender now. I don't think I can help much in a battle of that level, Yili replied truthfully. Demon King Yili, we know your terrifying ability, so please help us for the sake of the humans in the north. We've gathered many zombies. As long as you agree to us, we can give them for you to synthesize. Chapter 497. I am voluntary. When Yili heard this, he was really tempted. And the humans in the north? To be honest, he was also a human. In fact, even if he didn't cooperate with the Warrior Alliance, his ultimate path was to destroy the Dark Race. Okay, I promise you, Yili said slowly. When Xiahou Jie heard this, a smile appeared on his dignified face. Demon King Yili, on behalf of the humans in the Northern Realm, thank you, Xiahou Jie said to Yili. By the way, Chen Ruxue, do any of you know her? Yili hadn't seen Chen Ruxue's father before. What? Do you know my daughter? The first general, Chen Kuan, was a little stunned. Of course. Take me to see her, Yili said lightly. Chen Kuan looked at Xiahou Jie, ready to see what the alliance leader meant. Ah, Kuan, since the Demon King wants to see your daughter, take him there. Chen Kuan nodded and then led Demon King Yili to a place. Soon Yili saw Chen Ruxue. Chen Ruxue was already a Tier 7 evolved being. At this moment, she was holding her snow-white chin with her hand, thinking about something. I haven't seen you for a few years. Why don't you enter my dreams? A sudden voice entered Chen Ruxue's ears. Chen Ruxue was shocked and quickly turned around. As soon as she turned around, her tears fell uncontrollably. Yili. Chen Ruxue's voice was trembling. It's been a long time. I just came to see you, Yili said slowly. Skipping an hour? What? How dare the Demon King Yili? Chen Kuan widened his eyes and roared. A woman was a little afraid. Uncle, I just saw sister enter the room with the Demon King. It might not be. What else might not be? This is intolerable. Then Chen Kuan found Yili. At this moment, Yili and Chen Ruxue were admiring the flowers. Demon King Yili, let's make it today. Chen Kuan stared at Yili and said firmly. At this moment, Li Yanlu walked over. Demon King Yili, the alliance leader wants you to go over. Li Yanlu looked at Yili in disgust. Yanlu, I have something to settle with him. Chen Kuan stared at Yili. Dad, one volunteered. Chen Ruxue suddenly said, blushing. Li Yanlu was stunned. Then she suddenly thought of something and looked at Yili with even more disgust. Well? Chen Kuan gnashed his teeth and could only go to the hall with Yili. Demon King Yili, you can synthesize those zombies now. Xiahou Jie looked at Yili and said. Okay. Yili nodded. Yanlu, take the Demon King Yi away, Xiahou Jie said to Li Yanlu. Li Yanlu was naturally unwilling. She looked at Yili in disgust. Let's go, Yanlu, Yili said to Li Yanlu. Li Yanlu couldn't help but shiver. What did you call me? Li Yanlu stared at Yili and asked. Yanlu. Please call me Li Yanlu. Okay, got it, Yanlu. Li Yanlu stomped her feet in anger. Then Yili and Li Yanlu left the Warrior Alliance. Come with me to a place first. Yili looked at Li Yanlu and said. Where to? Li Yanlu's fair face was a little puzzled. Well, find out when we get there. Then Yili and Li Yanlu came to a city. The city was already full of zombies. These zombies were naturally all gathered by the Apocalypse Legion. Chapter 498. Zombie Forest. Li Yanlu looked at the city in shock. She actually saw a few S-tier master-level zombies and many high-leveled zombies. Is that your Apocalypse Legion? Li Yanlu looked at Yili. Yes. Yili nodded. Immediately, Yili ordered the Apocalypse Legion to take action. He opened the synthesis grid in his mind. Now it was very easy for him to synthesize zombies. He could synthesize batch synthesis in bulk. The batch synthesis could synthesize up to 10,000 zombies. That was great. Before long, the Apocalypse Legion knocked all the zombies to the ground. Yili began to synthesize the batch synthesis zombies in batches. At this point, except for the 18 copper armor clawed zombies, all the zombies had become S-tier master level zombies. Li Yanlu had heard from the alliance leader about the ability of Demon King Yili to synthesize zombies, but she didn't expect it to be so fast. That's it. Li Yanlu looked at Yili in shock. Then what else? Yili said indifferently. Li Yanlu looked at the Apocalypse Legion and found that 8 zombies had all become S-tier master level zombies, and even the 18 clawed zombies had also become 10th tier zombies. Let me introduce them to you. Fist God Zombie Ada, Ironfoot Zombie by Wawa, Ice Zombie Hongya, Petrification Zombie Yutong, Ghost Sword Zombie Achi, Swallowing Zombie Bone Maiden, Divine Spear Zombie Long Yu Shi. Yili looked at the Zombie Queen. He hadn't named her yet. Strength Zombie Mou. As a strength-type zombie, the Zombie Queen was quite strong, so he called her Strength Zombie. As for the name, Mou, he just came up with this name randomly. These are the 18 copper armor clawed zombies. Li Yanlu was still in a daze. Although she was a Tier 3 Transcender, all of this was too terrifying. Now, except for the 18 copper armor clawed zombies, the zombies had all become S-tier master level zombies. Yili nodded in satisforce. By the way, Yenlu, take me to synthesize zombies. Yili looked at Li Yenlu and said, I said don't call me Yenlu. Do you know that you are disgusting? Li Yenlu stared at Yili and said fiercely. Yili smiled. Do you really think I'm disgusting? That's right. Not only are you disgusting but you are also extremely disgusting. Li Yenlu said coldly. Yili thought that no one had ever felt disgusted by him. Li Yenlu was the first. This was really interesting. Let's go, Yili said. Li Yenlu didn't want to talk to Yili anymore. She knew that she had business to tend to. Then Li Yenlu took Yili to a place. The two of them arrived at a large forest that stretched as far as the eye could see. There were many genetic warriors outside the forest. They seemed to be from the Warrior Alliance. My lord, welcome. A Tier 7 evolved being hurriedly greeted Li Yenlu respectfully. Li Yenlu was the 4th general of the Warrior Alliance, so they naturally knew her. Open the zombie forest. Li Yenlu said to the Tier 7 evolved being. Yes, my lord. The Tier 7 evolved being nodded. Li Yenlu looked at Yili. Demon King Yili, all the zombies that our Warrior Alliance has raised over the years are inside. I hope you won't disappoint us. Yili didn't respond. His handsome face revealed an excited expression. The leader of the Warrior Alliance, Xiahou Jie, set up a barrier for the zombie forest, and the zombies inside couldn't come out. Soon a hole appeared in the barrier. Yili walked in. Chapter 499. Shocking synthesize. After walking into the zombie forest, Yili released the Apocalypse Legion from the system space. He used the Heavenly Spirit Eyes to take a look. There were too many zombies in this zombie forest. Yili was not in a hurry to ask the Apocalypse Legion to gather zombies. He thought for a moment and decided to nurture Ada and Hongya first. Since an earth-shaking battle would break out soon, if so many zombies in the Apocalypse Legion were nurtured together, they wouldn't be able to synthesize super strong zombies. There were too many zombies in the zombie forest. He didn't need to let the Apocalypse Legion gather zombies at all. Anyway, there were zombies everywhere. Immediately, Yili led the Apocalypse Legion to launch a shocking synthesize. He stayed in the zombie forest for 3 days and 3 nights before he finally synthesized the last zombie. Now, Ada was already a Tier 10 master level zombie, and so was Hongya. Now Yili could do whatever he wanted in the Northern Realm. Ding. As the host has synthesized many zombies, congratulations on breaking through to the Tier 2 Transcender. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a super treasure chest. Would you like to open it? Yes. Yili said without any hesitation. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the synthesized skill. Skill synthesize. You can synthesize all the skills and use them at the same time. The power is enough to destroy the world. Yili was stunned. He thought that if he combined the Flame Blade technique, the Primordial Demon Slash, the Sky Demon Tyrant Blade technique, the Demonic Devil Blade Cross Slash, and the Sky Level skill, Demon God Domineering Fist, and launched an attack, he couldn't imagine what would happen. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a chance to draw a lottery. The system's voice appeared in Yili's mind again. Yili felt that his luck had come. It was like chewing gum and couldn't be stopped at all. The cheats came one after another. The virtual pointer in his mind began to spin in the roulette wheel, and a few seconds later the pointer stopped. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the zombie skills, 3000 Ghost Cry Fist and Freeze the 9 Heavens. 3000 Ghost Cry Fist? Freezing the 9 Heavens? Yili looked excited. Wasn't this prepared for Alda and Hongya? He was really lucky. He checked the 3000 Ghost Cry Fist and Freeze the 9 Heavens. He discovered that they were all Earth-level skills. Without thinking too much, Yili fused the 3000 Ghost Cry Fist into Ada's body, Freeze the 9 Heavens into Hongya's body. It was time to go out. Yili put the Apocalypse Legion into the system space and walked out of the zombie forest. Li Yenlu was walking back and forth outside the zombie forest, her fair face very anxious. My lord, he's out. A Tier 7 evolved being exclaimed. Li Yenlu hurriedly looked at Yili. After finding that Yili came out safely, she heaved a sigh of relief. How is it going, Demon King Yili? Li Yenlu looked at Yili tentatively. Not well. Yili slowly said. Li Yenlu was a little stunned. She didn't understand what Yili meant. What do you mean? Li Yenlu looked at Yili in confusion. Let's go back to the Warrior Alliance, Yili said lightly. Immediately Yili and Li Yenlu headed for the Warrior Alliance. Before they arrived at the Warrior Alliance, Yili felt a little flustered. He had never felt like this before. He happened to arrive above the Cloud Peak Academy. Chapter 500. The four girls got caught. Yi Li glanced at the Cloud Peak Academy. He was above the Senior Students Institute of the Cloud Peak Academy. He wondered if something had happened to Xiao Hui and the others. Go back to the Warrior Alliance first. They'll go to the Cloud Peak Academy first, Yi Li said to Li Yanlu. Let's go together. Li Yanlu replied. She was afraid that Yi would take the opportunity to slip away after leaving the Cloud Peak Academy. Then she wouldn't be able to explain to the Alliance leader when she went back. Yi Li continued to speak and walked towards the Cloud Peak Academy. The two figures arrived at the playground of the Senior Students Institute of Cloud Peak Academy. All the students gasped and looked at Yi Li and Li Yanlu dumbfounded. It's Demon King Yi Li and the Fourth General. When Yi Li and Li Yanlu arrived at the Cloud Peak Academy, the news was instantly told to the president, Gu Feng. Gu Feng hurriedly came out to welcome him, his old face full of panic. He already knew that the Demon King Yi Li had cooperated with the Warrior Alliance. Now the Warrior Alliance had issued an order that any genetic warrior who dared to cause trouble for the Demon King Yi Li would be going against the Warrior Alliance. Where are Xiao Hui and the others? Yi Li looked at Gu Feng. Since he transmigrated to this parallel world, he had never been as panicked as today. He felt that something had happened. Well, Gu Feng hesitated. If you don't tell me, die. Yi Li said coldly. Even a dragon had its vulnerable spot, and Xiao Hui and the others were his vulnerable spot. Gu Feng was shocked. He didn't dare to hide anything and hurriedly said, Xiao Hui, Yun Man, Su Suner and Lu Qian went to the Dark Mountain with Lu Yu to gain experience yesterday and haven't returned yet. I've already sent people out to find them. Have you found them? Gu Feng was already drenched in cold sweat. He shook his head. No. Yi Li sneered. Were they taken away? It was no secret that he had the dragon-slaying blade. Perhaps they were taken away and then threatened him? At this moment, a phantom of a dark race member suddenly appeared in front of Yi Li. In the patriarch of the undead race. Inform the Demon King Yi Li that his 4 women are in my hands. Tell him to come to the undead race with the dragon-slaying blade for an exchange. He can only come alone, otherwise his 4 women will die. With that, the phantom of the dark race member disappeared. Yi Li smiled casually. There was no need to tell him. He was right here. The undead race, right? How dare he touch my vulnerable spot? Where is the undead race? Yi Li looked at Gu Feng. Li Yanlu looked at the expression on Yi Li's face. That day in the Heavenly Star Academy, Yi Li asked her to call him little brother in front of countless people. She had thought that Yi Li was a lecher, but now it seemed that she was wrong. How could Gu Feng, the president of the Cloud Peak Academy, dare to hide anything from Yi Li? He quickly told Yi Li the location of the undead race. Demon King Yi Li, the undead race is a very strong dark race member. Should we tell this to the alliance leader? Li Yanlu asked. Yi Li sneered. If I, Yi Li, can't even save my own woman, am one still the Demon King? Yi Li? As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Li activated the swift steps and disappeared. Li Yanlu pondered for a few seconds and then stepped on her dustless sword, heading for the Warrior Alliance. According to the position given by Gu Feng, Yi Li arrived outside the undead race. Some 5th-tier undead looked at Yi Li in shock. Are you Demon King Yi Li? A 5th-tier undead asked. Chapter 501. Undead race. The 5th-tier undeads couldn't believe it. This Demon King Yi Li had really come alone. Where was his Apocalypse Legion? Where were the Fist God Zombie and the Ice Zombie? These days they had heard a lot about the Apocalypse Legion. Ada, the Fist God Zombie, could punch a hole in the sky, and Hongye, the Ice Zombie, was covered in cold air that could even seal the sea. Of course they wouldn't believe it. Demon King Yi Li, how dare you come? Just for a few women? Is it worth it? A 5th-tier undead looked at Yi Li in disdain. Yi Li didn't speak. He took out the dragon-slaying blade from the system space. A 5-clawed blood dragon hovered in the air, accompanied by dragon and broadsword cries. Dragon-slaying blade. The eyes of these 5th-tier undeads couldn't help but glow. They thought that the dragon-slaying blade was too terrifying. Just looking at it made them scared. Demon King Yi Li, you made the right choice. Now hand over the dragon-slaying blade, a 5th-tier undead said with a smile. Swish. A cold glint appeared first, followed by a slash like a dragon. Several 5th-tier undeads died instantly without even leaving their corpses. Yi Li slowly walked into the territory of the undead race. In an instant, countless undeads surrounded him. Swish. A cold light thousands of meters long appeared, and hundreds of undead creatures were instantly melted. Demon King Yi Li, why are you so angry? A voice entered Yi Li's ears. Then, the phantom of the dark race member that appeared in the Cloud Peak Academy appeared in front of Yi Li. Yi Li looked at the undead in front of him, a Tier 1 Master-level member of the dark race. In addition, there were a few 10th tier undead creatures. Demon King Yi Li, hand over the dragon-slaying blade. A 10th tier undead sneered at Yi Li's swish. With one slash, the life of this 10th tier undead would disappear from this world forever. Demon King Yi Li, how dare you? The Tier 1 Master-level undead widened his eyes. Now that the Demon King Yi Li's woman was in their hands, could it be, did the Demon King Yi Li not care at all? Thinking of this, the Tier 1 Master-level dark race member panicked. Demon King Yi Li, aren't you afraid that your woman will die in front of you? Yi Li smiled faintly. Do you ants deserve to talk to me? As soon as he said so, Yi Li's dragon-slaying blade had already reached the neck of the Tier 1 Master-level undead. Let them go or you'll die. There was no expression on Yi Li's face, as if he were a peerless ferocious god from the inferno. The Tier 1 Master-level undead's eyes widened. Before he could react, the dragon-slaying blade was pressed against his neck. Hee, Demon King Yi Li, do you really think I'm afraid? The Tier 1 Master-level undead calmed down and said coldly to Yi Li, you can try. Yi Li's face was terrifyingly cold. For some reason, looking at the expression on Yi Li's face, the Tier 1 Master-level undead felt his entire body tremble involuntarily. The undead creatures even held their breath. Silence, a deadly silence. The Tier 1 Master-level undead knew that Yi Li was definitely not bluffing. Bring them up, the Tier 1 Master-level undead said coldly. Soon, the 4 women and their teacher Lu Yu appeared in front of Yi Li. Demon King, how about we make a deal? You hand over the dragon-slaying blade to me and one will release your women. Chapter 502. Decisive and ruthless. The 4 women and Lu Yu looked at Yi Li. They didn't know whether to be excited or afraid. This was a clan of dark race. Hee. Yi Li smiled. What are you laughing at? The Tier 1 Master-level dark race member stared at Yi Li. Although he would die if the dragon-slaying blade went any further, if he died, Yi Li's woman wouldn't be able to survive either. The Tier 1 Master-level dark race member certainly didn't understand why Yi Li could still laugh. I'm laughing at your ignorance. How dare you threaten me? Yi Li shook his head. Swish. A cold light appeared, and the Tier 1 Master-level undead was killed. Yi Li was now a Tier 2 transcender. In Yi Li's eyes, a Tier 1 Master-level undead was pitifully weak. At the moment when the Tier 1 Master-level undead died, a few undead creatures were about to attack the 4 women and Lu Yu. Unfortunately, Yi Li had already activated the swift steps. In an instant, Yi Li arrived in front of the 4 women. Primordial Demon Slash. The 3,000 god and demon phantoms attacked, and the undead around the women turned into ashes. Let's fight the Demon King Yi Li. Attack. At this moment, countless undead creatures rushed towards Yi Li. Yi Li smiled faintly, raised his fist and slowly said word by word, Demon God Domineering Fist. The sky-level technique, Demon God Domineering Fist, was extremely powerful. Boom. In an instant, everyone felt that the sky was about to collapse. Countless undead creatures were reduced to ashes, leaving no corpses. Seeing this scene, the remaining undead were already scared out of their wits. They hurriedly ran for their lives, their speed reaching the fastest in history. Senior. The 4 women called Yi Li with lingering fear. The unparalleled combat power that Yi Li showed just now was really terrifying. Although Lu Yu, the teacher of the 4 women, was a teacher of the Cloud Peak Academy, she felt that in front of Yi Li she was like an ant. Yi Li could instantly kill her thousands of times. Yi Li sent them back to the Cloud Peak Academy and asked them not to run around. Then he went to the Warrior Alliance. Alliance leader, do you think Demon King Yi Li can? Before Li Yanlu finished speaking, he was interrupted by Xiahou Jia. If he can't even solve the small undead race, is he still the Demon King Yi Li? Xiahou Jia said. With that, a 7th tier evolved being ran into the hall. Alliance leader, the Demon King Yi Li has come. Xiahou Jia's eyes lit up and a smile appeared on his face. A few seconds later, Yi Li walked into the hall. Xiahou Jia hurriedly invited Yi Li to sit down. Demon King Yi Li, how are you doing in the zombie forest? This was what Xiahou Jia was most concerned about. After all, to completely destroy the Dark Temple in the Northern Realm, he needed the help of Demon King Yi Li. Not bad. Ada and Hongye became 10th tier master-level zombies, Yi Li said slowly. Xiahou Jia was overjoyed to hear that. He gave Yi Li a thumbs up. As expected of the Demon King Yili. It's really terrifying, Xiahou said. Everyone in the hall looked at each other in shock when they heard this. They naturally knew Alda and Hongye, who were the zombies in the Apocalypse Legion. But 10th tier master level zombies? This was unbelievable. The sect master of the Warrior Alliance was only a 10th level transcender. The Alliance leader made such an important decision without discussing it with me. Do I, the Grand Elder, have no say at all? Suddenly, a deep voice entered everyone's ears. Chapter 503, Grand Elder of the Warrior Alliance. With that, an old man walked into the hall. The elderly person has a dignified appearance, with eyes as sharp as an eagle's, as if just one glance from those eyes could terrify someone half to death. Behind the old man was a youth. The youth was none other than Wang Tian, the #1 genius of the Cloud Peak Academy. Wang Tian. The old man's name was Wang Zong, and he was the Grand Elder of the Warrior Alliance. Xiahou Jie looked at Wang Zong. A few seconds later he smiled. Grand Elder, congratulations on your breakthrough. Now our Warrior Alliance has 2 10th tier transcenders. A few days ago Wang Zong had been in seclusion and only came out yesterday. He only learned about Yili yesterday. Are you the Demon King Yili? Grand Elder Wang Zong narrowed his eyes and looked at Yili. Wang Tian looked at Yili coldly. That day in Yun City's restaurant, Yili actually treated him like this. Now the chance to take revenge had finally come. Do I need to tell you if I am the Demon King Yili? Yili said lightly. Wang Zong was stunned. He didn't know how many years it had been since he heard such words. The Demon King Yili is the Demon King Yili. You're really special. How dare a tier 2 transcender say such a thing to me? Demon King Yili, one admire you very much. Wang Zong stared at Yili and said coldly. Grand Elder, Demon King Yili is now the partner of our Warrior Alliance. I think you, Grand Elder. Wang Zong sneered. Since the Alliance leader has made a decision, one can't say much. However, how should we settle the matter of Demon King Yili seriously injuring my grandson? That day, in a restaurant in Yun City, Wang Tian's hands and feet were pierced by Yi Li's golden spiritual light attack. Yi Li didn't want to either, but Wang Tian didn't answer his question. He had given Wang Tian a chance, but he didn't cherish it. Demon King Yi Li, what do you think we should do? Wang Zong looked at Yi Li and asked. Grand Elder Wang Zong had a very high status in the Warrior Alliance, even higher than the Alliance leader. He was also the most powerful person in the Warrior Alliance. Generally speaking, even the Alliance leader, Xiahou Jie, had to concede to him. Now that Wang Zong had broken through to become a 10th tier transcender, he was naturally even more arrogant. What should we do? Yi Li smiled casually. Wang Tian looked at the smile on Yi Li's face. He didn't expect Yi Li to be able to smile. Facing his grandfather, he actually didn't look afraid at all. Seeing this, Wang Tian couldn't help but be furious. Yi Li, what else do you have to be calm about? Kneel and kowtow 3 times to me and I'll spare you. Otherwise, Wang Tian didn't finish his sentence. He wanted Yi Li to understand on his own. Anyway, if he didn't agree, the consequences would be serious. Demon King Yi Li, this condition is not too much, right? Grand Elder Wang Zong looked at Yi Li. Grand Elder, are you the Alliance leader or am I the Alliance leader of the Warrior Alliance? Xiahou Jie shouted angrily. Wang Zong smiled. Alliance leader, this Demon King Yi Li is a demon. It's a mistake for you to choose to cooperate with him. Swish. When no one was paying attention, a golden spiritual light attack flew out of Yi Li's finger. Ah! A scream came. The #1 genius of the Cloud Peak Academy, Wang Tian, had died. Seeing this scene, everyone in the hall was dumbfounded. Tianer! Grand Elder Wang Zong shouted, his eyes red. Chapter 504. The Grand Elder quit the Warrior Alliance. Everyone in the hall of the Warrior Alliance was shocked. They didn't expect Yi Li to suddenly attack. Tianer. Deshanglai's eyes were red as he looked at Wang Tian's corpse on the ground. Demon King Yi Li, I want your life. Wang Zong gritted his teeth and said. Suddenly Wang Zong slapped Yi Li. Wang Zong was a 10th tier transcender, and Yi Li was only a tier 2 transcender now, so he was naturally no match for Wang Zong. But he had Ada and Hongye. Now, Ada and Hongye had both become 10th tier master level zombies. Yi Li was about to release Ada and Hongye from the system space, when a figure appeared in front of Yi Li. It was none other than the Alliance leader of the Warrior Alliance, Xiahou Jie. Xiahou Jie raised his palm, which collided heavily with that of Grand Elder Wang Zong. Boom. In an instant, spiritual energy spread in the hall, and the tables and chairs were all shattered. Xiahou Jie, are you going to stop me? Wang Zong stared at Xiahou Jie. Grand Elder, since I've decided to cooperate with the Demon King Yi Li, then you can't fight him. Xiahou Jie said coldly. Xiahou Jie, do you really mean that? Wang Zong's expression was cold and terrifying. His only grandson had died at the hands of Yi Li. If he didn't take revenge, he wouldn't be a human. Grand Elder, it's your grandson who has been provoking Yi Li. Yi Li is not in the wrong, Xiahou Jie said. Grand Elder Wang Zong had just broken through to the 10th tier transcender, but Xiahou Jie had been a 10th tier transcender for several years. If they really fought, Wang Zong was naturally no match for Xiahou Jie. Ha ha ha. Wang Zong laughed out loud and his face turned grim again. Xiahou Jie, Demon King Yi Li, I, Wang Zong, quit the Warrior Alliance. Just wait. With that, Grand Elder Wang Zong carried Wang Tian's corpse and walked out of the hall. The 5 generals in the hall all looked at each other. The Grand Elder wanted to quit the Warrior Alliance? This was a big deal. Wang Zong was the most powerful person in the Warrior Alliance. There were countless people who listened to him. If he quit the Warrior Alliance, he would have to take away at least 70% of the people in the Warrior Alliance. Alliance leader this. Li Yanlu looked at Xiahou Jie. Xiahou Jie sneered. The Grand Elder has always been unconvinced of me, but my realm is higher than his. Now that he has become a 10th tier transcender, he will naturally be even more arrogant. As you can see just now, the Grand Elder doesn't take me, the Alliance leader, seriously at all. In Xiahou Jie's opinion, there would be a battle between him and the Grand Elder sooner or later. He didn't want to cause too much trouble at this critical moment, but since Yi Li had taken action, he might as well bring this matter forward. One heard that something big happened in the Warrior Alliance. The Grand Elder quit the Warrior Alliance. Yes, countless families quit the Warrior Alliance with the Grand Elder. What happened? I have a friend from the Wang family. I heard that the Demon King Yi Li killed the Grand Elder's biological grandson, Wang Tian, so all the genetic warriors in this area knew of this matter. After the Grand Elder led countless families to quit the Warrior Alliance, everyone knew that a shocking battle was coming. The Demon King Yi Li killed Grand Elder's grandson, so the Grand Elder certainly wouldn't let it go. Sure enough, on this day, Grand Elder Wang Zong led countless strong masters to surround the main hall of the Warrior Alliance. Many forces that didn't belong to the Warrior Alliance came after hearing the news, just to watch a shocking battle. Chapter 505. Surround the Warrior Alliance in the Hall of the Warrior Alliance. Master, the Grand Elder has surrounded the main hall with his subordinates, Qian Kuan reported to Xiahou Jie. In the hall at this moment, not only were the 5 generals of the Warrior Alliance present, but also many powerful members from various families, all of whom had good relations with Xiahou Jie. Umph. Xiahou Jie snorted. The enemy comes, we block. Water comes, we cover with earth. I've been displeased with the Grand Elder for a long time. If people didn't know better, they would think he's the true leader of the Warrior Alliance. Let's fight, Master. Yes, Master, let's fight. At worst, in 18 years we'll have another life. All the clan leaders looked to Xiahou Jie, awaiting his command. Meanwhile, Yi Liu leisurely sipped his tea, observing the cup in his hand, realizing it was made of valuable white jade. Seeing Yi Li's nonchalant attitude, Li Yanlu furrowed her brows. Demon King Yi Li, this whole mess is because of you. Why are you acting as if nothing happened? Li Yanlu looked displeased at Yi Li. Yi Li smiled faintly. Yanlu, if one don't act like this, what else should one do? Do you want me to cry? Upon hearing this, Li Yanlu became furious. She stared at Yi Li. You? Then Li Yanlu turned to Xiahou Jie. Master, I don't think we need to help him. He doesn't care, so why should we? Li Yanlu was genuinely angry. The main hall of the Warrior Alliance was already surrounded, and yet Yi Li remained so indifferent. How could she not be angry? Xiahou Jie hadn't spoken yet when a grim voice echoed in everyone's ears. Xiahou Jie, one don't want to make things difficult for you. We'll settle our accounts later. Hand over the Demon King Yi Li. If you choose not to, you should know the consequences. The voice belonged to the Grand Elder Wang Zong. Upon hearing this, Yi Li slowly stood up from his seat, his face calm as still water. Afraid? No. Yi Li would never be afraid. If someone wanted to deal with him, he would face it. Let's see who's more formidable. Li Yanlu watched Yi Li's back in amazement. Is he crazy? Going out alone? In Li Yanlu's eyes, Yi Li walking out like this meant nothing but seeking death. Let's go out too, Xiahou Jie said. Soon everyone in the main hall walked out. Yi Li walked out slowly and saw hundreds of genetic warriors in front of him. Even the lowest among them was a 10th tier evolved being. The highest was, of course, Grand Elder Wang Zong, and most others were first or second-tier transcenders. Such a force gathered together was enough to destroy heaven and earth. Demon King Yili, you finally came out. Wang Zong looked at Yili coldly. Xiahou Jie also led hundreds of genetic warriors to stand in front of Yili. Various forces that came to watch the battle held their breath because they knew that if a fight broke out, it would be earth-shattering. You old dog, do you really think you can avenge Wang Tian? Yili looked at Wang Zong indifferently. As soon as these words came out, everyone involuntarily gasped. They couldn't have imagined that Yili would dare to call the Grand Elder an old dog. Demon King Yili, today is your death date. Wang Zong roared angrily. He was already infuriated to the extreme. Death. Yili smiled calmly. No one can kill me. Chapter 506. Skill Synthesis. Wang Zong looked at Xiahou Jie with a cold expression. Xiahou Jie, do you really intend to help the Demon King Yili? Yes. Wang Zong's expression turned cold and he gritted his teeth, saying, in that case, let's fight. As the words fell, Wang Zong gave the order. Attack. Suddenly, more than 400 high-level genetic warriors rushed towards Yili. Xiahou Jie was about to give the command but was stopped by Yili. He looked at Yili in great confusion. Demon King Yili, what are you doing? Yili smiled. This matter started because of me. There's no need to involve you. Just watch. With that, Yili released Ada and Hongye from the system space. 2 10th-tier master-level zombies. Yili didn't release the other zombies. He knew that if he let them out, they would only become cannon fodder. Roar. Ada unleashed the Earth-level skill, 3000 Ghost Cry Fist. Hongye used the Earth-level skill, Freeze the 9 Heavens. The strength of 2 10th-tier master-level zombies, combined with Earth-level skills, was no joke. They hurriedly retreated. Wang Zong didn't make a move. He never expected that Yili would have 2 10th-tier master-level zombies. Demon King Yili, one heard you have an Apocalypse Legion. Are these 2 10th-tier master-level zombies your reliance? Wang Zong's expression was terrifyingly cold. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. It's fair. Since you want to avenge your grandson, come then. Yili spoke slowly, his face showing no emotion. The various forces watching the battle held their breath. In their eyes, Demon King Yili and the 2 10th-tier master-level zombies were truly terrifying. Divine Power Palm. Suddenly Wang Zong fiercely struck towards Yili. A palm formed from gathered spiritual energy came crashing down towards Yili. The attack was terrifying beyond measure. Yili activated the 6th level of the Ancient Devil Tome, and his overall attributes skyrocketed. Demon God Domineering Fist. Yili used the Heaven-level skill, Demon God Domineering Fist. In an instant, countless terrifying fist shadows, accompanied by numerous gods and demons, attacked the giant palm. Boom! A thunderous sound shook the heavens and the earth. All the genetic warriors watching the battle collapsed to the ground. Their eyes were filled with horror. How is this possible? Wang Zong roared in anger. He couldn't believe that Yili had actually withstood his attack. Attack! Wang Zong roared again, and hundreds of genetic warriors used their respective skills, launching an onslaught towards Yili. Skill Synthesis. Flame Blade Technique, Primordial Demon / Sky Demon Tyrant Blade Technique, Demonic Devil Blade Cross / and Demon God Domineering Fist. 4 SSS level skills combined with 1 heaven level skill. In an instant, a giant god demon hundreds of meters in size, appeared behind Yili. Boom! A demonic aura swept across 30,000 miles, and a single fist chilled the entire world. How could words describe such an attack? In an instant the world changed color. The genetic warriors were sent flying one after another. Silence, a deadly silence. The various forces watching the battle had their eyes widened like never before. Wang Zong's old face showed extreme horror. He couldn't believe such an attack. He truly couldn't believe that it was unleashed by a second-tier transcender. Xiahou Jie and the others were in the same state. They all stood there like statues, unable to move. Chapter 507. Entering the heavenly tower to cultivate it was the Demon King Yili after all. This cheat was ridiculous. 4 SSS level skills and 1 sky level skill. Could it be a joke to synthesize them together? This blow scared hundreds of genetic warriors. Wang Zong regained his senses, looking at Yili in shock. Demon King Yili, one didn't expect you to be this terrifying. Wang Zong couldn't believe it. He really couldn't believe it. Yili's face was calm as water, as if nothing had happened. He's actually so powerful? Li Yinlu looked at Yi Li in astonishment. She stared at Yi Li's slightly thin figure. When Yi Li unleashed that terrifying attack just now, she felt like she was in the depths of hell. No wonder he could be so calm and composed in the main hall. At this moment, Li Yinlu truly understood the true terror of Yi Li. Grand Elder, let's retreat. Even if we go all out, we can kill this demon king Yi Li, but Xiahou Jie and the others are eyeing us. A second-tier transcender said to Wang Zong. Wang Zong pondered for a few seconds, then looked coldly at Yi Li. Demon King Yi Li, we will meet again. After speaking, the Grand Elder led hundreds of genetic warriors away. Yi Li didn't choose to pursue. Even if he could kill Wang Zong, the cost would be too high. However, he knew that before long Wang Zong would die. Yi Li didn't idle. He ordered the Apocalypse Legion to gather zombies, and this time he would gather countless zombies. The scope of gathering zombies this time was wider, from various regions in the northern domain. Although his strength was decent now, he still couldn't do whatever he wanted in the northern domain. If necessary, he would buy berserk potions from the Point Mall. He had used berserk potions several times before, and during the time in the ruins of the wilderness city, he slept for a whole year due to using too many berserk potions. Now, it was time for him to cultivate. After crossing into this parallel world he had never practiced. He could level up just by synthesizing zombies. But today was different. He had to cultivate. I'm going into secluded cultivation, Yi Li said to Xiahou Jie. Xiahou Jie was puzzled. Secluded cultivation? Before Xiahou Jie could speak, Yi Li disappeared on the spot. Yi Li arrived at the top of a mountain. If the host wants to cultivate, you can enter the Heavenly Tower for cultivation. The system's voice suddenly appeared in Yi Li's mind. Yi Li was slightly stunned. He didn't know that Heavenly Tower could be used for cultivation. Then he took out Heavenly Tower from the system space. After Heavenly Tower recognized him as its master, he found that he could use Heavenly Tower at will. Yi Li entered the first floor of Heavenly Tower. He felt a rich spiritual energy. He had been to places with rich spiritual energy before, but this level of concentration was unprecedented. It wasn't difficult to imagine. The higher the floor, the more concentrated the spiritual energy. After reaching the fourth floor, Yi Li found that he couldn't go up anymore. There was no choice, he could only cultivate on the fourth floor. Unexpectedly, on the fourth floor, not only was the spiritual energy extremely rich, but time also passed extremely quickly. One day inside was equivalent to a month outside. Ding. Congratulations to the host for upgrading your talent to the Earth level. Hearing the system's voice, Yi Li originally thought that SSS level was the highest talent, but now it seemed that it was far from that. Yi Li stayed on the fourth floor for a month. He went from a second-tier transcender to a third-tier transcender. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the opportunity of skill fusion. Chapter 508. All kinds of cheats, opportunity for skill fusion? Yi Li was a bit puzzled. It means merging the desired skills into a completely new one. As the system explained, Yi Li understood. Please choose the skills you want to fuse. Without hesitation, Yi Li chose the skills: Flame Blade Technique, Primordial Demon / Sky Demon Tyrant Blade Technique, and Demonic Devil Blade Cross /. These four skills were now only SSS level, and they were not very useful for him. Skill fusion begins, 10%, 30%, 60%, 100%. Skill fusion complete. Congratulations, host, on obtaining the heaven grade skill, Annihilation Finger. Annihilation Finger? Yi Li's face lit up. Now he had 2 heaven grade skills. With 2 heaven grade skills, unleashing an attack by combining skills, Yi Li couldn't help but imagine such a scene. It must be spectacular. Ding. Congratulations, host, for obtaining a chance to draw a random prize. The virtual pointer started spinning in the roulette. Congratulations, host, on drawing the weapon fusion skill. Weapon fusion? Yi Li was a bit stunned. What was this weapon fusion? Was it similar to skill fusion? Host, after weapon fusion, you can obtain a completely new weapon, but the new weapon will still have the original abilities of the old weapons. After contemplating for a few seconds, Yi Li said, so, if the fused weapon is an axe, can one still enter the axe for cultivation? Yes, host. With the affirmative answer from the system, Yi Li felt relieved. Now, please choose the weapons you want to fuse. Yi Li fused the dragon-slaying blade, Heavenly Tower, and Eastern Emperor Bell without hesitation. After a few seconds, the system's voice echoed in Yi Li's mind. Congratulations, host, on obtaining an unparalleled divine artifact, the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword. Sword? Yili thought that the name Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword was indeed domineering, but he didn't know how powerful it was. The Ancient Devil Tome has transformed into the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword Embryo. The Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword Embryo has been upgraded to the first level. Yili was stunned. What was going on? Did the Ancient Devil Tome voluntarily transform into this Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword Embryo? Yes, host. Because the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword is an unparalleled divine artifact. One implant a sword spirit into it for you. The Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword Embryo is the most suitable for you. After the Ancient Devil Tome turned into the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword Embryo, it meant that he was no longer a demon but a human. However, whether he was human or a demon, he didn't care. In his eyes it was the same. At this moment, Yili was still in the heavenly tower of the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword. Now that he was a third-tier transcender, he looked towards the 5th floor. When he was still a second-tier transcender, he couldn't enter the 5th floor. Afterwards, Yili advanced to the 5th floor. As expected, he could indeed enter the 5th floor now. The spiritual energy on the 5th floor was even denser, and time passed even faster. In this way, it took Yili another month to finally reach the 7th floor. The 7th floor was already the top floor. He had also become a 7th-tier transcender from a 3rd-tier transcender. Such a speed of advancement was probably unprecedented. Yili left the heavenly tower, looking at the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword in his hand. The Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword was entirely crimson, and it looked incredibly sharp. Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword, formed by the fusion of the Dragon-Slaying Blade, Heavenly Tower and Eastern Emperor Bell, it possesses the sharpness of the Dragon-Slaying Blade, the spatial abilities of Heavenly Tower, and the wailing of the Eastern Emperor Bell. Without much thought, Yili stored the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword in the system space. Chapter 509. Heaven-grade skills for all Apocalypse Legion members. Yili looked at the rising sun still on the mountain and smiled inwardly. He glanced at his attribute panel. Host Yili. System, Super Synthesis System. Weapon, Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword. Realm, 7th Tier Transcender. Skills, Heaven-grade skill, Demon God Domineering Fist. Heaven-grade skill, Annihilation Finger. Zombies, Apocalypse Legion. Yili thought his realm was a bit low. He needed to continue cultivating. But before that, he had to synthesize some zombies. That's because the Apocalypse Legion had arrived with the zombies. Yili activated the swift steps and arrived at a city. Again, the city was filled with zombies. This time, the number of zombies was simply too much. Fortunately, Yili had the bulk synthesis ability. Otherwise, it would take him a lot of time. Ada, 10th Tier Master Level Zombie Hongya, 10th Tier Master Level Zombie by Wawa, 7th Tier Master Level Zombie Yutong, 7th Tier Master Level Zombie All Chi, 6th Tier Master Level Zombie Bone Maiden, 6th Tier Master Level Zombie Long Yu, 6th Tier Master Level Zombie MOU, 6th Tier Master Level Zombie. MOU was the Zombie Queen. Yili had given her the name not long ago. Ding. Congratulations, host, on obtaining the opportunity for zombie fusion. Yili had obtained the opportunity to fuse zombies when he was in the Ananbei city. He fused the silver, copper and iron of the White Lotus sect with Ada. And now he obtained it again. Yili thought for a moment and decided to fuse the 18 copper armor-clawed zombies. He had a feeling that the 18 copper armor-clawed zombies weren't very useful. Then Yili fused the 18 copper armor-clawed zombies with all the zombie fusion begins. 10%, 30%, 60%, 100%. Fusion complete, Ada upgraded to a first-tier Lord-level zombie. Above the Master-level zombies were the Lord-level zombies. The North Realm was too weak, there were no powerful zombies. The world was vast, and Yili knew that his strength was strong in the North Realm, but it was insignificant in the entire world. Yili wondered if he should give each zombie in the Apocalypse Legion a heaven-grade skill. The current zombie skills were too trash, they were practically useless. He hadn't thought about this issue before. He opened the points mall in his mind. His points had reached an astonishing level. He found the zombie skill fusion. Yili bought it without checking the price. Next, he began to fuse the skills of each zombie in the Apocalypse Legion. For those zombies whose skills couldn't be fused into a heaven-grade skill, he bought earth-grade skills from the points mall. Unfortunately, the points mall didn't have heaven-grade skills exclusively for zombies. Finally, every zombie in the Apocalypse Legion had an exclusive heaven-grade skill. Ada, True Fire Domineering Fist. Hongya, Sky Burning Cold Chi. By Wawa, Heavenly Destruction Demonic Foot. Yutong, Great Sky Petrification. Achi, 13 Ghost Swords of Blue Cloud. Bone Maiden, Sky Swallowing Demon Technique. Long U, Startling Spear Technique. MOU, Sky Destroying Fist. Every zombie now had an exclusive heaven-grade skill. Yili was very satisfied and he didn't care how many points he had spent. Next, Yili sneered, it was time to take revenge. Immediately Yili placed the Apocalypse Legion into the system space, activated the swift steps, and disappeared from the spot. Before arriving at the Warrior Alliance, he unexpectedly found himself in a small city and saw Li Yinlu fighting against several second-tier transcenders. Although Li Yinlu was a third-tier transcender, it was evident that she was struggling against 5 second-tier transcenders. Chapter 511. Coming to the Wang family. Yili smiled faintly. To find Wang Zong, of course. Li Yinlu was even more shocked when she heard this. Yili, although your strength is terrifying and you have 2 10th-tier master-level zombies, you've seen the Grand Elder's power last time. Before Li Yinlu could finish speaking, Yili interrupted her. Do you always talk so much nonsense? A playful look appeared on Yili's handsome face. Li Yinlu was stunned. She was clearly doing this for Yili's own good, but why didn't Yili appreciate her kindness at all? Did this person take her kindness as ill intentions? Demon King Yili, although you saved me, I don't think you can talk to me like this unscrupulously. Li Yinlu said to Yili unhappily. Yili smiled frankly. Come on, it's already good enough that one don't ask you to marry me. How can one speak to you so unscrupulously? Who do you think you are? You? Li Yinlu was a little angry. For so long she had been very worried about Yili, because Yili didn't say where he was cultivating before he went into seclusion. She had been looking for Yili. She didn't know why she was worried about Yili. Perhaps it was because of Yili's unparalleled valor that day? Or maybe it was because of Yili's jade-like face. Are you leaving or not? If not, I'm leaving. Now, Ada was already a Lord-level zombie and had a heaven-grade skill. Who would he be afraid of in the Northern Realm? Let's go. Li Yinlu shouted at Yili angrily. Then Yili and Li Yinlu headed for the Wang family. The Wang family, the #1 family in the Northern Realm. The former Grand Elder of the Warrior Alliance, Wang Zong, was the head of the Wang family. Now that Wang Zong was a 10th-tier transcender, his family still had 8 7th-tier transcenders. Could be imagined how strong the Wang family was. Yili and Li Yin arrived outside the Wang family. Ask them to come out and see me. If they don't, I'll wipe them out. Yili said lightly to Li Yinlu. Li Yinlu was stunned. Had this person always been so arrogant? She would rather believe that the sky was about to collapse than believe that there was such an arrogant person. Yili, this is the Wang family. Last time, only the Grand Elder went to the Warrior Alliance. Do you really think you are invincible? If you want to die, go by yourself. Li Yinlu said angrily to Yili. Yili smiled faintly. Do you really trust your own eyes? What? Li Yinlu was a little confused by Yili's words. Go. Don't ever doubt my words. Yili continued to say to Li Yinlu. Li Yinlu gritted her teeth. Yili, don't regret it. As soon as she finished speaking, Li Yinlu walked towards the door. The disciples of the Wang family all knew Li Yinlu. After all, she was the 5th war general of the Warrior Alliance. What are you doing here? A disciple of the Wang family looked at Li Yinlu in shock. Although the Wang family and the Warrior Alliance didn't get along, Li Yinlu wasn't someone they could afford to offend. If they were ambushed and killed by Li Yinlu, they wouldn't be able to reason with her. Tell your family head that Demon King Yili asked all the people of your Wang family to come out. Otherwise, Demon King Yili will exterminate your family. Li Yinlu conveyed Yili's words truthfully. She wanted to see if Yili had the capital to be so arrogant. Chapter 512. Li Yinlu felt that Yili was very arrogant. The Wang family disciples were stunned when they heard this. Then, a disciple of the Wang family came back to his senses and looked at Li Yinlu. Master 5th War General, did Demon King Yili really say that? Li Yinlu sneered. Just report to your family head. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Although she, Li Yinlu, was not an extremely powerful genetic warrior, she was still a Tier 3 transcender. Not everyone could talk to her as an equal. Then, a disciple of the Wang family hurriedly ran in. In the main hall of the Wang family, Wang Zong sat on the throne at the top of the hall, and below him were the 8 elders of the Wang family. The 8 elders were all 7th-tier transcenders and were very strong. Family head, do you think Demon King Yili left the Northern Realm? An elder said to Wang Zong. They had already received news that the Demon King Yili was not in the Warrior Alliance. The first thing they had to do was to find the Demon King Yili. Only by killing the Demon King Yi Li would they dare to attack the Warrior Alliance. After all, the methods of a person like the Demon King Yi Li were too terrifying. No matter where he is, we have to find him. Tian'er can't die in vain. Wang Zong snorted coldly. At this moment, the disciple of the Wang family ran to the Wang family's hall. Family head. Family head. Wang Zong's face turned cold when he heard that. He shouted in a low voice, "What happened?" This disciple of the Wang family didn't dare to hide anything and hurriedly said, "Demon King Yi Li asked all the people of our Wang family to go out. He said that otherwise he would exterminate our Wang family. The 5th War General told me this." What? Wang Zong and the 8 elders were all shocked. They would never have thought that the Demon King Yi Li would appear. Yi Li. Wang Zong sneered. Demon King Yi Li. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to find you. One didn't expect you to come to me. Everyone, since the Demon King Yi Li wants us to go out, let's go out and kill him. Wang Zong looked at the 8 elders and said. The 8 elders nodded. Immediately they and Wang Zong got up and walked out of the hall. Yi Li, I've already delivered your message. Now you solve it yourself. Li Yanlu stared at Yi Li. Yi Li's handsome face was as calm as water, as if he didn't care about the upcoming battle at all. Looking at Yi Li's indifferent face, for some reason, Li Yanlu was very angry. She really couldn't imagine what kind of person Yi Li was. Was he not afraid of death? Didn't one tell you not to believe your eyes? Why do you still believe your eyes? Yi Li smiled faintly. Li Yanlu was about to reply when a cold laugh interrupted her. Haha, Demon King Yi Li, I thought it would be a little troublesome to find you, but one didn't expect you to come to me. Heaven offers a way but you refuse. Hell has no door but you insist on entering. As soon as he said so, Wang Zong and the 8 elders of the Wang family appeared in front of Yi Li. Li Yanlu was a little frightened. Although she was the 5th War General of the Warrior Alliance, which sounded scary, her strength was only that of a Tier 3 Transcender. Wang Zong was a 10th Tier Transcender, and the 8 elders of the Wang family were all 7th Tier Transcenders. Her strength was nothing in front of them. Demon King Yi Li. Wang Zong shouted at Yi Li coldly. There was still no expression on Yi Li's handsome face. He slowly said, "This little strength is not enough." Chapter 513. Break the first killing array. Demon King Yi Li, one know you have 2 10th tier master level zombies, but so what? This is the territory of our Wang family. Wang Zong stared at Yi Li and said coldly. Yi Li smiled. I, Yi Li, am the same wherever 1 am. Demon King Yi Li. I'm afraid you don't know the number 1 killing array of our Wang family. An elder shouted. When Li Yanlu heard the first killing array, she couldn't help but tremble. Legend had it that the first killing array had even killed 10th tier dark race members. Of course, Yi Li had never heard of the first killing array, but he didn't think it was terrifying. Are you ready? Yi Li asked casually. What do you mean? Wang Zong stared at Yi Li and said coldly. Yi Li smiled. My meaning is clear. Are you ready to die? As soon as he said this, Wang Zong and the 8 elders were all shocked. They couldn't believe that Yi Li would say such a thing. Demon King Yi Li, 111, let you have a taste of our Wang family's first killing array today. Activate the array. Suddenly, Wang Zong and the 8 elders all began to recite an incantation, and the surrounding kilometer was enveloped by the first killing array. There were countless weapons inside, each condensed from spiritual energy. Of course, each of them was enough to kill. Li Yanlu had also entered the first killing array. Her fair face was full of shock. What should we do now? Li Yanlu looked at Yi Li. Li Yanlu didn't expect Yi Li to be able to laugh. There's no need to panic, Yi Li said slowly. Li Yanlu felt that she was too stupid. Why didn't she stop Yi Li from coming to the Wang family when she knew that he was courting death? Demon King Yi Li, today, he'll use the first killing array to send you to heaven to avenge Tian'er. Kill? As soon as he said so, the weapons condensed thousands of meters around him flew towards Yi Li and Li Yanlu. Seeing this, Li Yanlu was horrified. She closed her eyes because she knew that she was dead for sure. There was still no expression on Yi Li's handsome face, as if he didn't see anything at all. Seeing this, Wang Zong and the 8 elders all sneered. They knew that the Demon King Yi Li was already ready to die. Just as all the weapons condensed from spiritual energy were about to reach Yi Li and Li Yanlu. Just at this moment, Yi Li released Ada from the system space. Ada was now a Tier 1 Lord level zombie. He raised his fist and used the heaven-grade skill, True Fire Domineering Fist. Boom. With a shocking bang, the soaring True Fire swallowed countless weapons condensed from spiritual energy. Immediately afterward the air fell silent. Wang Zong and the 8 elders all opened their eyes wide. They would never believe that the first killing array had been blocked. When the soaring fire disappeared, they saw a zombie in front of Yili. They naturally knew this zombie. It was the fist god zombie, Ada. They looked at Alda and their pupils couldn't help but constrict. Lord level zombies? Horror, absolute horror. Li Yinlu took a few steps back. She dared to swear that this was the most shocking moment she had ever been in her life. Her fair face was full of shock. I said that you should never believe your own eyes, but you didn't believe me. Yili looked at Li Yinlu and said lightly. It was not until now that Li Yinlu finally understood the meaning of this sentence. Chapter 514. Demon King Yili, I want to fight you one-on-one. Wang Zong was extremely shocked. In the battle in the Warrior Alliance a few months ago, the zombie Ada of the Divine Fist was still a 10th tier master level zombie, but now he had become a lord level zombie. He knew that this must be the doing of Demon King Yili. It was no secret in the Northern Realm that the Demon King Yili could synthesize zombies. Demon King Yili, you actually have a lord level zombie. Wang Zong looked at Yili in shock. Yili smiled faintly. It doesn't matter if one have a lord level zombie or not. Just tell me if you are ready. Of course Wang Zong knew what Yili meant. Yili was asking him if he was ready to die. He had thought that this was a joke, but now he didn't dare to think so, because the fist god zombie Ada had become a lord level zombie. Their greatest reliance, the first killing array, had been broken by the fist god zombie Ada. Wang Zong and the 8 elders trembled. Demon King Yili, our Wang family is the #1 family in the Northern Realm. Before Wang Zong finished speaking, he was interrupted by Yili. Let me ask you again, are you ready? Yili said lightly. Demon King Yili, do you really think you have any chance of winning against the entire Wang family? Wang Zong gritted his teeth and shouted coldly. Li Yinlu was already frozen like a clay sculpture. She would never have thought that Yili would have a lord-level zombie. This was a lord-level zombie. It seems that you are ready. In fact, death is not that scary. At most, you will be a good man again in 18 years. Yili slowly said. As soon as he finished speaking, Yili was about to attack. Wait. Wang Zong shouted at Yili. Demon King Yili, if you are a hero, don't let your lord-level zombie attack. Let's fight one-on-one. Wang Zong stared at Yili. One-on-one? Yili wanted to laugh. This was the first time he had heard of a one-on-one battle after transmigrating to this parallel world. Wang Zong was a 10th tier transcender, and Yili was currently a 7th tier transcender. If it were other 7th tier transcenders, they wouldn't have any chance of winning against a 10th tier transcender, but was Yili an ordinary transcender? Although his ancient dragon abyss sword embryo was only on the 1st level, it was stronger than the 6th level of the ancient devil tome. This was the charm of the ancient dragon abyss sword embryo. I, Yili, am not a hero, but if you want to fight me one-on-one, if I don't fulfill your wish, it will seem that I, Yili, am afraid. Yili slowly said. Li Yinlu was a little stunned. She really didn't expect Yili to agree. Wang Zong was a 10th tier transcender. Even if Yili was made of iron, how long could he hold on? Hearing that Yili agreed, Wang Zong didn't expect it either. He couldn't help but put on a grim smile. Demon King Yili, do you really agree? Wang Zong looked at Yili. Yili smiled. You're just a 10th tier transcender. Don't act as if you're sure to defeat me. You really don't know what's good for you. Cut the crap and start. As soon as he finished speaking, Yili took out the ancient dragon abyss sword from the system space. The ancient dragon abyss sword was fused with 3 divine weapons and was many times stronger than the dragon-slaying blade. The 8 elders of the Wang family looked at the ancient dragon abyss sword in Yili's hand. For some reason their bodies began to tremble. They didn't want to tremble, but they couldn't help trembling. What could they do? Chapter 515. Fight Grand Elder Wang Zong. Wang Zong had dominated the Northern Realm for many years, but he had never seen anyone like Yili. He couldn't calm down when he saw the sword in Yili's hand. Demon King Yili, even if the sword in your hand is a peerless spiritual treasure, you will still be killed by me. Under absolute power, everything is useless. Wang Zong shouted coldly. Yili really didn't understand why Wang Zong had so much nonsense. Cut the crap. Pity your lungs. Come and die. Yili hooked his finger at Wang Zong. Seeing this scene, Wang Zong burst into fury. Demon King Yili, I'm going to kill you. With that, Wang Zong raised his finger and shouted coldly, Mystic Light Finger. As soon as he said so, a terrifying attack burst out of Wang Zong's hand and flew towards Yili. As the saying went, even if you have a clever strategy, can't I find a way around it? Mystic Light Finger? Her brother had the heaven-grade skill, Annihilation Finger. Yi Li also raised his finger and released the Annihilation Finger. The Annihilation Finger seemed to really destroy the world, and its power was extremely terrifying. The spiritual light of the Annihilation Finger collided heavily with the spiritual light of Wang Zong's attack. Boom! How was that possible? Wang Zong's Mystic Light Finger was dispersed by the Annihilation Finger, and the spiritual light of the Annihilation Finger attacked Wang Zong. Wang Zong was shocked. He never expected Yi Li to be able to launch such an attack. He hurriedly dodged and finally dodged the peerless blow of the Annihilation Finger. Swish! A cold light arrived first, and then the sword shot out like a dragon. A cold light thousands of meters long suddenly attacked Wang Zong. This blow was shockingly fast. Wang Zong's pupils constricted quickly. He was a 10th tier transcender. Swish! Wang Zong used all his strength to dodge the sword light. Demon God Domineering Fist. Yi Li punched out heavily, and a terrifying fist shadow shot at Wang Zong. There were countless gods and demons on the terrifying fist shadow. Splurt! Wang Zong resisted with all his strength, but the Demon God Domineering Fist was a heaven-grade technique. He vomited a mouthful of blood. Demon King Yi Li. Wang Zong's old face was extremely cold. He had thought that Yi Li had no chance of winning in a one-on-one battle with him, but he didn't expect this scene. Demon King Yi Li, you are very strong. You are really strong. I didn't expect that you could force me to this point. However, next one will crush you into pieces. Wang Zong roared. With that, Wang Zong continued to shout, "Burn my origin." Wang Zong's strength had actually increased to the level of a chosen one. The level of the chosen one was comparable to the Lord level. Demon King Yi Li, I've lost 10 years of my life just to kill you. Goodbye, Demon King Yi Li. Wang Zong sneered. Swish! Suddenly, Wang Zong disappeared from the spot at an astonishing speed. Yi Li couldn't even catch Wang Zong's figure. He activated the ancient dragon Abyss Sword Embryo, his attribute sword. When Wang Zong appeared again, he was already behind Yi Li and punched him hard. Yi Li jumped and dodged the heavy punch. Demon King Yi Li, even if you have extraordinary abilities, you can't escape. Wang Zong sneered. Yi Li smiled faintly and used the Sil Fusion. The Demon God Domineering Fist and Annihilation Finger, 2 heaven-grade skills synthesized. Wang Zong looked at the terrifying attack on Yi Li's primordial dragon Abyss Sword. If such an attack was launched, it would definitely destroy the world. Chapter 516. Cloud Peak Academy. Looted by the Dark Temple. The Demon God Domineering Fist and the Annihilation Finger were synthesized. Boom! A destructive blow shot at Wang Zong at an astonishing speed. Wang Zong's eyes widened because he found that he couldn't dodge such an attack. He consumed 10 years of his lifespan to burn his origin and temporarily upgrade to the Chosen One realm. But Yi Li's attack was too terrifying. When the extremely terrifying attack was about to reach him, Wang Zong's pupils couldn't help but constrict. My life is over. Wang Zong shouted and closed his eyes. In an instant, dazzling light filled the entire sky, like a nuclear bomb exploding. After the explosion, Wang Zong was nowhere to be seen. He had already turned into ashes. The 8 elders of the Wang family were horrified. The family head is dead? They couldn't believe that their family head would die. When the light disappeared, the 8 elders of the Wang family looked at Yi Li and found that Yi Li's handsome face was as calm as water, as if he was doing something trivial. Li Yanlu froze as if she were petrified. She thought that she was the most shocked she had ever been, but she didn't expect that she would only be truly shocked now. This shock had even penetrated into her soul. Are you very afraid? Yi Li looked at the 8 elders of the Wang family indifferently. The 8 elders of the Wang family were shocked. Demon King Yi Li, you don't need to be afraid because the dead don't need to be afraid. As soon as he finished speaking, the sword had already attacked. 1,000-foot-long sword light flew out of the tip of the ancient dragon Abyss Sword. Immediately afterward, Ada used the True Fire Domineering Fist. The soaring True Fire also flew over. The 8 elders of the Wang family had died. Yi Li looked at Li Yanlu, who was still petrified, and slowly said, "Let's go." With that, Yi Li left. Li Yanlu came back to her senses and quickly followed him. Demon King Yi Li came out of seclusion and killed the Wang family's head and the 8 elders. That's impossible. The head of the Wang family is a 10th tier transcender. What's impossible? It's been spreading like crazy. The news went viral, and it didn't take long for everyone to know what Yi Li did. The Hall of the Warrior Alliance. Master Demon King, Many people know that you killed Wang Zong and the 8 elders. Xiahou Jie, the leader of the warrior alliance, looked at Yi Li and said. Xiahou Jie only wanted to cooperate with Yi Li, but Yi Li had killed Wang Zong and the 8 elders. He really felt that he couldn't talk to Yi Li as an equal. If they angered Yi Li, the warrior alliance would probably be razed to the ground by Yi Li in an instant. Just casually, Yi Li slowly said to Xiahou Jie. Alliance leader. Alliance leader. Suddenly, a 6th-tier evolved being ran into the hall. What's wrong? Xiahou Jie asked. Cloud Peak Academy, Cloud Peak Academy, the 6th-tier evolved being stammered. What exactly happened? The Cloud Peak Academy was looted by the Dark Temple. Countless people were killed or injured and they were captured by the people of the Dark Temple, the 6th-tier evolved being said in shock. They were naturally referring to Xiao Hui, Yun Man, Su Suner and Lu Qian. After Yi Li went into seclusion, Xiahou Jie sent someone to secretly protect them. What? Xiahou Jie's eyes widened. What's wrong? Yi Li was a little puzzled. He didn't know that Xiahou Jie secretly sent people to protect the 4 girls, nor did he know who they were. Chapter 517. Dark Temple. Xiahou Jie swallowed. He looked at Yi Li and said, Master Demon King Xiao Hui, Yun Man, Su Suner, and Lu Qian were taken away by the Dark Temple. Yi Li's face instantly turned cold. The undead race had also captured the 4 girls that day. But the undead race was doomed. Dark Temple. Yi Li said coldly. Master Demon King, the Dark Temple is stronger than us. The Master of the Northern Realm is a Tier 1 Lord-level member of the Dark race. Look, Xiahou Jie looked at Yi Li tentatively. Where is the Dark Temple? Yi Li looked at Xiahou Jie. Xiahou Jie was shocked. Master Demon King, I asked where the Dark Temple is. Xiahou Jie knew that if he didn't tell Yi Li the location of the Dark Temple, the consequences would be serious. Having no choice, Xiahou Jie could only tell Yi Li the specific location of the Dark Temple. After Yi Li knew the location of the Dark Temple, he activated the swift steps and disappeared. Alliance leader. Li Yinlu looked at Xiahou Jie. Xiahou Jie smiled bitterly. Yinlu, we can't stop him at all. Li Yinlu secretly gritted her teeth and stared straight ahead, but Yi Li was nowhere to be seen. Death Mound Mountain. The Death Mound Mountain in the Northern Realm was the largest forbidden zones of life. This was the Dark Temple, which controlled all the Dark Race members in the Northern Realm. Yi Li arrived in the air above the Death Mound Mountain and looked at the Dark Castle below. Waves of evil aura kept coming at him. Kiki. A voice entered Yi Li's ears. Demon King Yi Li, you're finally here. As soon as he finished speaking, a member of the Dark Race appeared in front of Yi Li. Yi Li had seen this member of the Dark Race once. That day in Yun City, he had just fought the 5th War General Lei Gang when this member of the Dark Race appeared. This was a Tier 2 Master-level Dark Race member. Now in front of Yi Li he was pitifully weak. Demon King Yi Li, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Black Spirit. The Tier 2 Master-level Dark Race member looked at Yi Li proudly. You are already dead. Yi Li slowly said. Black Spirit was shocked. He looked at Yi Li in shock and was about to speak, but before he could say anything he would never have a chance to speak. Swish. A cold light appeared and Black Spirit said goodbye to this world forever. Even in death, Black Spirit didn't dare to believe that he had died just like that. Does the Demon King Yi Li have to be so angry? Another Dark Race member appeared in front of Yi Li. This member of the Dark Race was a Tier 4 Master-level Dark Race member. Demon King Yi Li, please. The Tier 4 Master-level Dark Race member didn't say much and made an inviting gesture to Yi Li. Yi Li followed the Tier 4 Dark Race member to the main hall of the Dark Temple. In the hall, the evil aura was even more intense. On both sides sat the powerful Dark Race members, and on the throne above them sat 3 Dark Race members. On both the left and right sides was a Tier 1 Lord-level Dark Race member. In the middle was a Tier 3 Lord-level member of the Dark Race. With such strength, Yi Li couldn't defeat them at the moment. But if he ignored the 4 women even though they were caught, would he still be Yi Li? Demon King Yi Li, my friend. I'm the Master of the Dark Temple in the Northern Realm. It's a pleasure to meet you. The head temple master said slowly to Yi Li. Where are they? Yi Li stared at the head temple master. The head temple master was a Tier 3 Lord-level member of the Dark Race. Such strength was too terrifying. We are not interested in attacking them. We captured them just to make you come to the Dark Temple. Then Yi Li was thrown into an extremely terrifying pool. This pool was full of the purest dark aura, and there were all kinds of creatures formed by dark aura. After Yi Li entered the pool, creatures formed by various dark auras began to bite and tear him. Since he transmigrated to this world, this was a pain that Yi Li had never felt before. These dark creatures couldn't devour his body but his mind and soul. Chapter 519. Yi Li was gone. Yi Li was tortured in the dark pool for 3 days and 3 nights. He gritted his teeth, feeling that he might be doomed this time. In the end he was not strong enough. Demon King Yi Li, how do you feel? A 10th tier master level general appeared outside the dark pool. Yi Li had no strength left in his body at this moment. He didn't even have the strength to speak. He could only look at this 10th tier master level general. There was nothing else he could do. Demon King Yi Li, one advise you to join the Dark Temple. Otherwise you will die a horrible death. The 10th tier master level general spoke again. Ding. Detected that the host is in unprecedented danger and can't escape. The system took the initiative to temporarily increase the host's strength to the chosen one. At this moment, the system's voice suddenly appeared in Yi Li's mind. Yi Li felt that his strength had reached a shocking level. At this moment, the strength of his body was indescribable. Swish. He summoned the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword and activated the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword embryo. In an instant, the chains locking his body were broken. How is this possible? The 10th tier master level general exclaimed in shock. Yi Li sneered. He had thought that he was doomed this time, but he didn't expect the system to temporarily upgrade him to the Chosen One realm. The Chosen One corresponded to the Lord level, and the Dark Race member outside the Dark Pool was just a 10th tier master level Dark Race member. Swish. Yi Li held the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword in his hand. With the enhancement of the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword embryo, his entire body was filled with sword intent, and the space seemed to be cut apart by such sword intent. As a terrifying sword light appeared, the 10th tier master level Dark General's throat was cut by Yi Li. Yi Li put on an evil smile on his handsome face, and the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword let out an excited cry. At this moment, countless members of the Dark Race rushed in. Kill? Yi Li slashed out. The Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword embryo was too suitable for the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword. With a cold flash, hundreds of Dark Race members instantly melted into nothingness. Yi Li knew very well that he couldn't fight at this moment, because the system had only temporarily raised his realm to the Chosen One. What he needed to do was to escape. Once he escaped, when the tiger returned to the mountain, half of the sky would be dyed red. Yi Li activated the swift steps. As a Chosen One, his speed was shockingly fast. When the 3 masters of the Dark Temple and the generals arrived, Yi Li was nowhere to be seen. I'm so angry. The head temple master roared angrily. He was obviously extremely angry. Head temple master, what should we do now? A 10th tier master level general asked the head temple master. Attack. Catch all Yi Li's women back. The head temple master flew into a rage. But head temple master, after the last time, they must have taken precautions. If we catch them by force, it will probably attract a shocking battle. The head temple master's face darkened. Have you forgotten that the Demon King Yi Li has interacted with many women? As soon as he said this, all the members of the Dark Race laughed. Since the Ananbei city, they had been paying attention to the Demon King, Yi Li, so they naturally knew that Yi Li had connections with many women. Demon King Yi Li, you lose because you think women are very important. You can never escape from me. I'm going to nurture you into a super killing machine. After that, the head temple master laughed coldly. Chapter 520. Return to the Warrior Alliance. Yi Li activated the swift steps and ran far away. Ding. The Chosen One realm has disappeared. As soon as the system finished speaking, Yi Li felt that all his strength seemed to have been drained. He took out a box of food from the system space. After eating and drinking, he took a rest and felt that his strength had recovered a little. Then he began to walk towards the Warrior Alliance. When the 4 women returned to the Cloud Peak Academy, the president of the Cloud Peak Academy, Gu Feng, hurriedly reported to Xiahou Jie. Xiahou Jie asked Gu Feng to send them to the Warrior Alliance so they could protect them. Since Yi Li killed Wang Zong and the 8 Grand Elders of the Wang family, the major affiliated families of the Wang family had submitted to the Warrior Alliance again. Alliance leader Demon King, Li Yanlu, looked at Xiahou Jie. He learned from the 4 women that Yi Li came to the Dark Temple and then the Dark Temple released them, but Yi Li didn't come back. Alas. Xiahou Jie sighed heavily. I'm afraid the Demon King is already... Before Xiahou Jie finished speaking, a 6th tier evolved being ran in excitedly. Alliance leader. The Demon King is back. When Xiahou Jie and Li Yanlu heard this, their bodies trembled. Is what you said true? Xiahou Jie asked quickly. It's absolutely true, Alliance Leader, said the sixth-tier evolved being. Xiahou Jie was about to go to welcome Yi Li with Li Yanlu, when he found that Yi Li had already slowly walked into the hall. Master Demon King. Xiahou Jie hurriedly shouted at Yi Li. Yi Li nodded and sat down. I narrowly escaped death in the Dark Temple this time. The Dark Temple won't let us off. You have to be mentally prepared, Yi Li slowly said. Don't worry, Demon King. We're already prepared. I've already brought Xiao Hui and the others to the Warrior Alliance, Xiahou Jie said firmly. Yi Li put down the teacup and looked at Xiahou Jie. Take me to them? Xiahou Jie hurriedly asked Li Yanlu to take Yi away to meet the four women. Since the battle in the Wang family, Li Yanlu knew that people like Yi Li were out of her league. She also changed the way she called Yi Li from Demon King Yi Li to Master Demon King. Not long after, Yi Li saw the four women. The four women all looked sad and the atmosphere was very solemn. Sisters, look who's here, Li Yanlu said. In the past few days, Li Yanlu had been comforting the four women. Because she was older than them, she called them younger sisters. Xiao Hui, Yun Man, Su Suner, and Lu Qian were all stunned when they saw Yi Li. Then they looked overjoyed. Senior, it's great that you're fine, Xiao Hui said to Yi Li. Yi Li said something to the four women and then looked at Li Yanlu. By the way, where is Qian Ruxue? Li Yanlu was stunned. She didn't expect Yi Li to suddenly say such a thing. Sister Qian went to the Heavenly Star Academy to pick up someone, Li Yanlu said to Yi Li. Hearing this, Yi Li felt a bad feeling for some reason. With the style of the Dark Temple, they would probably, without thinking too much, Yi Li activated the swift steps and disappeared. Li Yanlu naturally knew what Yi Li was thinking. She quickly followed him. The four women didn't follow him. They knew that with their strength, if they went there, they would be cannon fodder. Yi Li quickly rushed to the Heavenly Star Academy. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.